It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. John C. Dvorak joins Father Robert and Patrick Norton. We're going to get a big CES report, all the great new stuff at CES. We'll talk about Intel's new chipset, the big screen TVs, the quadcopters, and more. This Week in Tech is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Twit This Week in Tech, episode 492, recorded January 11th, 2015, the Quadfather. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Stamps.com. Start using your time more effectively with Stamps.com. Use Stamps.com to buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. To get our special offer, go to Stamps.com now. Click on the microphone and enter TWIT. That's Stamps.com. Use the offer code TWIT. And by Squarespace. Creating and editing your website is easier than ever using their redesigned interface, Squarespace 7. Now with Getty Images, Google Apps integration, beautiful new templates, and more. Try the new Squarespace at squarespace.com and enter the offer code TWIT at checkout to get 10% off your new account. And by Shutterstock.com. With over 46 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code TWIT115. And by FreshBooks, the simple cloud accounting solution that helps millions of entrepreneurs and small business owners save time billing and get paid faster. Join over 5 million users running their business with ease. Try it free at freshbooks.com/twit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. This was a big tech week, so let's get the panel on here. 2 of us went to CES, 2 of us didn't. Can you guess which? John C. Dvorak and I stayed home. John C. Dvorak, good to see you. NoAgendaShow.com. He's doing it from the No Agenda studios in beautiful Berkeley, California.
Yes, and good to be here. Testing out some new camera stuff.
Yeah, you got a switcher. What'd you get?
I don't know what this is. This is whoa. Hey. It's just something.
This is a show you're going to want to watch the video for. Also here, he was in Vegas, Mr. Father Robert Ballecer. They don't say Mr. Father.
Sometimes they do.
Father Robert Ballecer,
yeah.
The digital Jesuit and a host of This Week in Enterprise Tech, Coding 101, Know-How on the Twit Network, and our reporter in Vegas for CES.
I actually got, I was indoors the whole time, so I got a TV tan.
Yeah.
This is just from the screens.
That is wild.
The Central Hall.
That is wild.
Oh.
And I'm also pleased to welcome another original Twitter. That's not right, is it? Member of the Twit team, Patrick Norton. Used to be Techzilla. It's now TechThing, and it debuts this week at techthing.com.
Yes, we launched our first episode. We have techthing.com is live, youtube.com/c/techthing. And if you're in a supportive mood, patreon.com/techthing, TEKTHING. And before John asks, it was thousands of dollars to buy TECH thing, but TechThing, TEKTHING, was $9. So guess which way I rolled.
But it's also a callback to Techzilla, because that's how you spell Techzilla.
Yes, it is.
So Techzilla is, like all the other shows now on Revision 3, in hiatus forever.
Well, the internally produced ones. They still do their external partnerships. They've got some new stuff, I understand, that's going to be launching January, February this year.
But Discovery didn't want to do internal. They want to have a studio anymore.
Basically,
yeah,
is my understanding.
So what did they say to
me.
you? What did they say? They said goodbye?
Yeah. It's okay. Look, I got 7.5 years out of that. The last 2.5 years would not have happened if Discovery had not purchased Revision 3.
Right.
I have no qualms. It was an amazing experience. I got to do some cool stuff. I got to, do some crazy stuff with Subaru. It was good. It was an amazing experience.
And you're going to just like leap from lily pad to lily pad. Now you're going to do TechThing.
Well, it's like the Screensavers 4.0 or DLTV 3.0 or Techzilla 2.0 or TechThing 1.0. And yes, this time I get to own it. So any decisions, like any stupid decisions, were either me or Shannon and I working together.
You own them.
I get to own all of the decisions.
Own them.
But before we do that, before we get into the main part of the show,
I know, you've been holding off very well. Go ahead. How's that feel? It feels good, doesn't
It
it?
feels really good.
That's a year of good luck, right
Well,
there.
I came back from CES and my son's head was like a number 2 with like a little boy cut, which is
Right.
really strange because his hair is usually super long, he looks like a Muppet or a Muppet. Actually, he looks like
He
a
does
Muppet
have long
usually.
hair. So now
his
he's down.
hair is like is not quite as short as yours, but this is the first time you've ever had less hair than I've had, certainly for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So this
Have you ever shaved your head?
my head was shaved for me by a group of football players in high school.
Oh, Lord.
And then I grew my hair halfway down my back in college, and then cut it short again.
Darn hippie.
There's nothing more fun than having long hair in a ponytail, in a cowboy hat, in CBGBs, throwing down with skinheads on a Saturday night. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is my idea of a
I
really
could be a
good evening.
skinhead now.
I have really boring evenings.
I know. Patrick's got a life.
Says the man who's sneaking secure hardware on behalf of the Vatican out of small countries
that's the other
going
job.
through revolution.
You
the
can't
other
do
okay.
that.
Yeah.
So for those and everybody knows, but if you're just tuning in and you missed our New Year's Eve marathon, 24 hours, and you're all invited for next year. I know you were there, Robert. We raised $75,000 for UNICEF, and on the way to $75,000, I pledged to shave my head for $40,000. Did that. Promised to get a tattoo for $50,000.
Did you get the tattoo?
Yes, I did.
Ask him where it is, John.
It's on his butt, probably.
Yeah. How'd you know that? So you guys know me well. I'm going to wear this hat, though, for the rest of the show because it's
Oh,
cold.
no, don't wear that. Like some throwback from the 70s.
And actually, I think I look like I might be cleaning up a little later on. I gotta, you guys call me Madge.
You cleaned up on the New Year's event.
Yeah, $75,000 for UNICEF. It's great. In fact, they said we're building a hospital in Guatemala thanks to you. Would you like to come down and visit it? So that's pretty good. I feel good, and it's really thanks to you also. Thanks for your
We'll make you
donations.
back.
It's not too late. Let me just check. UNICEFUSA.org/twit. Wow, it's still going up. 63 in cash. The rest of it was through our auctions. So you can still donate. So I guess we'll keep that up
When
for a
we
little bit
ended, we were like 58,900.
Yeah.
Right?
Dr.
That
Mom put us
night.
over 60 so that Paul Thurrott would shave his head at 60. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. We're going to do it again, I'm sure. But thank you for everybody for your donations. So CES. Why do you, now, John, you haven't been to CES in how many years?
I went last year.
You did go last year. So
Yeah.
you go every few years. Is that your plan?
It's like, first I got to decide whether there's anything worth going to see. And then I have to decide whether I want to go through the agony. By the way, and I have all the tricks. I know where I can park a car right by CES. I know every way of getting around there, and I always rent a car. But it's just the crowds, and this CES had to be a nightmare for everyone's going to catch the flu from the CES.
Everybody did. I don't know how Robert survived without getting sick, but there's 160,000
water.
people, and if one person goes sick, everybody's going to get it, or at least have a good shot at getting it.
I live at a high school, so chances are I already got it.
I see.
Yeah.
You're better now.
But it's also overcovered. I mean, I don't really have a reason to go to it. There's 3,300 booths and 10,000 reporters. That's 3 for every booth, and they don't cover all the booths, which makes no sense to me, but they don't. And it's just overcovered, and there's nothing really comes out of it. And everyone always bitches about this at the end of the day. I mean, I'm sure Patrick got some good stuff, but off the wall stuff.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, you say I have to check to see if there's anything or any reason to go, but isn't it the thing you don't expect that's going to be the most interesting thing that comes out of CES?
Well, it's a chance, like, Robert Heron, HeronFidelity.com, my partner in crime from HD Nation, he goes there to physically get hands-on with all of the new TVs, right? Because these TVs aren't going to ship for 6 months, but he goes in and he gets up close and personal with the latest.
And that
from
makes sense because
Samsung.
you have to see it in
Yes.
person. You can't see it on the internet. That we do the same thing with Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, and he did it. Actually, if you haven't seen the Home Theater Geeks from this week, he did the tour of all the big booths: the Sony, the Sharp, the LG, and the Chinese companies.
Another good reason not to go, because he goes and he knows a lot more about it from the basics.
He knows what he's seeing.
But
Yeah,
I would
so he's
agree
ahead
with
of the
you
game.
most years. Like the last 5 years of CES have been useless. We could have not gone and gotten everything just by reading the reports. This year was different. It absolutely was different.
Why was it different?
Well, the biggest thing is no tablets and no cases.
Isn't that amazing?
The last 5 years
What the
of
hell
CES
happened?
have been all tablets, all cases.
Wait a minute, there wasn't iPhone accessory heaven somewhere in there?
There was, but it wasn't the big thing.
Who cares?
But yeah, I mean, it was. I think Samsung. I don't think Samsung announced a phone. They talked about maybe one tablet. The Internet of Things, which I've officially defined as a hot mess, right? Yes. Because it's a hot, hopefully interoperable mess. Which a couple years ago it was a hot but closed down and difficult to deal with mess. It's still mess. It's still a pain, but it's going to be really interesting to watch that evolve. The Internet of Things is everywhere, and it's defined in 10,000 different ways. It was interesting to see how CEA is kind of moving the industry forward. They pulled the 3D
Consumer
printing.
Electronics Association, which puts on CES, even though it's this Consumer Electronics Association, CES is not the Consumer Electronics Show.
Well,
it's just CES.
At this point, we should probably.
It's international
Sorry.
CES.
Yeah.
So what did CEA do?
Okay, so there's a bunch of interesting things going on, right? Microsoft drops out. Intel drops out from the big press day, events.
Intel
right?
still has a booth, though, don't
Sure,
they?
Intel still
Microsoft
has a
hasn't
booth.
had a booth in years.
No.
Apple hasn't gone in years.
Well, Apple, yeah. I mean, Apple, whether Apple leaked the rumors or the rumors just happened to show up during CES.
They always do.
Apple doesn't deal with CES, but they drop a few things just to keep people nervous, right? But what was BMW had half of the parking lot in front of the LVCC, and you might be thinking like, who cares? They brought like 50 BMW i3s. They were doing electric vehicles. They were showing reporters advanced version of autonomous driving technology, with a like an Android Wear watch or an Android smartwatch, where they were like, car or BMW i3, here boy, or whatever they were saying into it. And then the car would drive up to them and they would get in. The car would drive itself. You would send the car to park itself. That's a pretty neat demo. But when you look at like the press days, GM was announcing for 30 seconds, they previewed the new Chevy Volt the night before while they were talking about OnStar. Volkswagen had a major keynote. Toyota had a major keynote. The LG was partnering with Audi. So the automotive manufacturers have come in a very, very big way that I certainly would not have expected 2-3 years ago. And it wasn't, Ford announced Sync 3. There's a lot of the in-dashboard stuff, but automotive manufacturers are talking about the stuff in the rest of the car at the Consumer Electronics Show. That was one of the big things I
I'm surprised the cars were there because, in years past, the Detroit Auto Show has been at the same time. This time they moved it. It starts tomorrow.
That's what was so funny.
Maybe that's why they moved it.
In the middle of GM's kind of like OnStar, 4G LTE, room booking, and hey, and they whip some curtain backs for 30 seconds, and here's the next generation Chevy Bolt. And 30 seconds later, the curtain goes shut, and it's like we'll tell you the rest about everything that's going on with the new Volt at Detroit, right? Yeah. So obviously, automakers are savvy.
The cars are more consumer electronics than they've ever been in the past. Ford really was one of the first to go to these events because of Sync, and they wanted to get a reputation as a technology company. What about autonomous vehicles? Did you see any of those?
The big autonomous vehicle pavilion was outside. So you had Audi,
as it should be.
You had Mercedes, you had BMW, and you had VW.
Were they all concept cars?
No. That's the fantastic thing.
I saw
VW, you can actually buy that car in Europe.
Wow. I saw the Mercedes-Benz concept car, which was like a living room on wheels.
Yeah. Well, this is, I got to talk to, one of those large electronics manufacturers you've never heard of except for you heard of once that actually provides like half the parts for half the automobile manufacturers in the world. I was talking to one of these people at SEMA in 2013, and one of the things I was told is like, luxury autonomous vehicles, 2017, they're going to be all over the place. Affordable autonomous vehicles, 2025. Assisted driving, is going to show up in it's amazing how fast this stuff is coming, right? So, autonomous or assisted driving, i.e., like the car is going to try to keep you from swerving in front of the 18-wheeler. That's going to be like 2017, 2018. By 2025, autonomous self-driving cars should be fairly common.
High-end cars already have a lot of smart
but there's a big
stuff
difference between your Audi A8 and like me buying a 2-year-old beat to snot Subaru. You know what I mean? When it's in the 2-year-old beat to snot Subaru that I'm going to pay for, it doesn't cost that much. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
the Audi system was ridiculously impressive. I love what they did with the A7 and the RS7. Those were beautiful cars. But the one that got it for me was the VW because the sensors they used to make it assisting and self-parking are actually already in the e-Golf. If you buy the e-Golf package, those sensors are there. They just wrote software to use that in a different way.
Yeah. Well, even Ford has said we have many sensors in our cars now. Yeah. And the idea is they're going to be there and we'll be able to take advantage of them in years to come, even if we don't today. But there's also consumer acceptance.
Right.
I think the idea of that Mercedes-Benz car where you have a swivel seat so you don't have to see out the window is a little scary. The idea of saying, well, let's just have a cup of tea and we'll let the car get us there. Will people accept that? I guess they will. Yeah. I mean, we do it. Somebody tweeted me, You're doing it now already in airplanes.
Yeah.
Airplanes flying themselves.
I mean,
in fact, they're often landing themselves.
You drive in Northern California. Like, I started driving in Jersey, and I thought the worst thing I could ever see, I saw on the night I got my learner's permit, which was driving to the Newark airport from, like, semi-rural Pennsylvania on a Friday night to pick up my cousins. It was one of the great nightmares of Route 22, right? And then I moved to Northern California, and I find out what really stupid driving looks like.
Yeah.
Right? There's you know, I mean, and that's not even thinking about, like, what are the last 4 things you've seen people doing in the car that was
It's true.
stupid?
People are
reading
terrible,
a newspaper,
terrible
texting,
drivers.
applying makeup, eating meals, shaving.
I think everybody accepts the idea that a self-driving car would do a better job 90% of the time, but it's the fear that it'll get in a situation where it can't handle it and it'll just fail.
But Audi has
horrifically.
something for that 10%. So their system uses it has near-field sensors for pedestrian avoidance. But it also can see, was it 3 miles down the road with LiDAR, with laser radar and some other system. And it actually has,
it knows
in the
ahead of
software,
time.
right, it will tell you if the road doesn't look like it thinks it's supposed to look. If it's not matching up to the GPS, it will actually inform the driver, you're going to have to take control of me in 45 seconds.
Did the Mercedes have a steering wheel? It was just hidden away?
It's a concept. Who knows?
Couldn't touch it.
It didn't look like there were any controls.
Mercedes had a big black booth with the shiny car in the middle of it, and I'm pretty sure nobody was allowed to get within touching distance
They
of the
shut
car.
down the Las Vegas Boulevard northbound to have the Mercedes entourage. And we have video because we were stuck in this traffic jam. People were coming close to the car, and you had these big suited German, do not touch the car! And then drive them off.
Didn't Audi drive its autonomous vehicle to the show?
miles.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
500 miles.
So John C. Dvorak from the Gitmo Nation, how long is it before the police put in a kill switch in a car that says not merely stop driving, because they already have that, you know, the lenders have that, but come to the police station right now. Are you worried about that, John?
Don't implement that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, these self-driving cars are going to be easy to probably, stop or make them drive someplace they don't want to go.
I would
I
imagine.
saw the Silicon Valley show. I think there's a self-driving car that puts a guy in a container and ships him out to the middle of the Pacific.
Exactly.
I think that could happen.
My destination has been reprogrammed.
Well, I mean, it also, but it's kind of like the underlying thing all the hackers have been giggling about with the Internet of Things. Is like, oh, so you're going to take an object, you're going to it's probably going to have an inexpensive chipset which has a 3 or 4 year old code base that you may or may not have time to vet internally before you ship the product, and they're all like, on one hand, if you have your white hat on, that's great. And if you have your black hat on, that's great, because it's either going to provide epic new holes into the system, or it's going to, have, opportunities to secure things or
Isn't the car the ultimate definition of an air-gapped computer? I mean,
unless, it all depends, right?
I mean, there was, be on the
people are like,
3G
I don't have a key anymore. And it's like, oh, well, I can blue snarf your key and then I can open your car when you're gone, right? I mean, it's interesting. Hyundai did something really cool. All of their BlueLink systems going back to the original Sonatas in 2012, their new application, which will remotely start the car and turn on the air or turn on the heat, right? Depending on whether you're in Florida in August or Oklahoma, in December, will work with all the cars going back. So it's obviously going to be a big deal that they secure the living snot out of these, not just the car itself, but the network connection and the applications that are running on Android or iOS. That's a big deal.
Somebody, Terry Kay in the chat room says, police aren't going to like self-driving cars because they won't be able to write tickets anymore. You'll always be going the correct speed limit. You'll never run a stop sign. Everything's going to be nice and orderly.
Well,
where's that revenue going to come from?
Well, because
from what you're doing,
someone's going to jailbreak their car because they want to install
they're going to jailbreak it,
and then they can write a ticket for that.
or because somebody's doing bong hits, or because they do the override button, or because they're fornicating in the car while it's moving. There will be lots of reasons.
Wait a minute. Are you saying it's going to? I mean, the whole purpose of a self-driving car is so that we can fool around while the car's going.
Yeah, so you can fornicate in the car while it's driving.
Is that going to be illegal?
Well, it depends.
I think we need to explicitly make that legal.
It depends if you're driving on the 5 or the 1. 1, it should be fine.
There should be private. You should have a privacy button that fogs the windows up. And you should be able to do it. I mean, you're not driving. You got to do something.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying something's going to happen.
Although there'll be a new kind of auto accident, in flagrante delicto accident where, officer, I couldn't respond. I was busy. All right.
We crashed.
Anything more to say about self? I think one thing that's important, and I was told this, and I mentioned it before, but by a self-driving, an autonomous vehicle advocate, I think he was working at Google. He said one thing that people don't understand is that one of the biggest resource wastes in the world is that we all have a car, in some cases more than one. Self-driving autonomous vehicles can create a new sharing economy where you don't need to own a car.
Oh, I thought Uber was doing that.
Well, but even better, you push a button, the car comes to you, takes you where you're going, and then takes off. He said you could even, let's say you want to go camping, you need an RV. Car will take you to the RV, you get in the RV, car takes off, the RV drives you where you want to go. You don't need to own a car anymore if these autonomous vehicles can come to you as needed.
We actually saw that 6 years ago at CES. Yeah. It was Nissan, and they looked like Segways. They were two-wheel vehicles. But the whole idea was it's a small pod, and you could summon multiple pods.
Right.
So if it's just you, you get one pod.
Right.
If you've got cargo, you get two pods, and they caravan. And when you're done, you send it back out into the network.
It is taxi service, but the point is there's an kind of infinite, you don't have to wait. Well, maybe you would. I don't know.
Well,
you
it's
don't
also,
have a driver, I guess is the only difference.
Yeah, it's the way mass transit used to work.
Right.
This is the reason Ford is so against these things, even though they like to talk a big game. In fact, when any of these meetings, they have these out here on the coast quite a bit. The Ford guys have got a guy from the University of California and a bunch of other experts that say, the self-driving car will never work. Network cars is the way to go. You want the cars so they talk to each other, but they don't necessarily drive. Because people, and then the follow-up, of course, apparently they don't know any millennials, but the follow-up is, people really like to drive.
That's what Alan Mullally would always say when I'd ask him about autonomous vehicles.
People like to drive, but the new people out there, the kids
don't need to drive.
That
They've
are
got
under
Forza.
30, most of them don't like to drive. They're using Uber all the time.
Right.
A lot of them don't have licenses.
Nobody's using Uber. People
My
in
daughter
New York
uses
City
Uber.
and San Francisco
No,
are using
my
Uber.
daughter
People
uses
with a
Uber
lot
in
of money are using
Petaluma,
Uber.
she uses
That's
Uber.
bullcrap. Even Adam Curry in Austin, Texas is using Uber.
Uber
Oh,
X,
Adam
which
Curry.
is less
But
expensive.
Adam Curry makes more in a month than I make in a year.
No, Uber X is not that expensive. In fact, it's probably cheaper than owning a car.
If you're in an area with Uber support. So you've basically talked about 3 large cities with large technologically savvy
you'd be
populations.
surprised. I hate to tell you, there's Uber in Petaluma. There's Uber everywhere now. all of a
Petaluma?
sudden. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But, we're like, what,
We're an
25
hour
miles
from San Francisco.
There
There are Uber drivers in this area.
I think John's right, but I think there's also a lot of millennials that aren't buying cars because they have no money, not because they don't like to drive. And there's still a lot of parts of the country, where an Uber doesn't work nearly as well as
No, I
people
agree.
think it should.
And you are actually the poster child for somebody who likes to drive.
I don't
You
know
love
about
to
child,
drive.
poster adult,
Poster adult. You love to drive. But it's Mark Lane, the new CEO of Ford, did say, I saw the quote, we are working on autonomous vehicles. We do plan to have autonomous vehicles to sell. So maybe this is the new Ford management. Maybe they
Well,
have
there's a
changed
difference
it.
between what they're working on in the back and what they're talking about at the front, because John's totally right.
Well, he
right?
says it'll cost them sales.
If you have a bunch of people that are reviewing cars, you're not going to tell all the car reviewers like, cars will be driving themselves in 2 years. No one will need to review
He's
anymore.
making a deeper point, which is that this will reduce the amount of cars we sell. And many people have said this. They won't sell as many cars because of this. And Ford's response has always been, well, we'll find other markets, other ways to make money. But I think that you're probably right, John. This scares them a little bit.
Yeah.
They're going to have to face the future.
It's going to scare. It should scare everybody. I think the kind of societal changes that will take place. I've pointed this out before, which is what happens to the city coffers when you have a place like San Francisco that does $80 to $100 million in parking tickets.
Right.
Yeah.
That income just goes away.
Yeah. Well, that was funny. Like
and a good thing.
Well, it's a good thing. Yeah,
Somebody's paid a lot of that $100 million.
CES went the other way as well. So you've got these self-driving cars, which are going to have high price tags. They're going to be performance vehicles with electronics up the wazoo. And in the same pavilion, you had Elio Motors. And Elio Motors was a $6,800 vehicle that you can buy. It's actually decent. It's a 3-wheeler. You can ride in tandem, stripped down to basically just what you need to be safe. So it has airbags. It has safety. It has nav.
This is a smart car. The same thing, right?
Right.
Well, and the reason it has 3 wheels is because it allows them to avoid a lot of the testing at the federal level.
Exactly.
And it may be the safest 3-wheel out there, but a 3-wheeled car can essentially be a 1957 Morgan or whatever.
You cannot overrule Newton's laws of physics. the larger mass is going to squish the smaller mass no matter what.
Well, what they figured out is you can absorb by turning the smaller mass into something that collapses and absorbs the impact.
With me in it.
Well, actually, let me.
But that's what's interesting, right? Is because they've created this.
They channel the energy around you.
They did a rec test with a smart car, and which kind of violates. It's kind of not intuitive, but the smart car, when it's hit by something, it bounces.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get smashed into a million pieces. It just literally jumps.
And they did the National Institute of Highway Safety and the big crash system. They took like a 61. Well, but it depends on
Where is it going to bounce to?
Well, it depends on where it depends on how far it's bouncing.
That's a better thing.
But they took like it.
I'm in a ping pong ball. I'm safe.
But they took I think it was like a 61 Impala and a 2011 Impala, and they smashed them together to doing one of the Highway Institute tests. And the 3-ton car, in terms of what would happen to the legs of the driver and the passenger, got its ass kicked.
Because you got sheet metal in front of you that doesn't buckle, that doesn't break, it slides right through you. We've gotten smarter about this.
I mean, if the smart car turns into a Super Bowl and you're safely wrapped inside of the airbags, it's probably
Demolition
a lot better.
Man.
I could land on Mars.
It fills up with foam, and you're good to go.
I do think there is a very big market, and I think that what these guys are really looking at is a very big market for driver assist stuff. Self-parking cars, Ford's done really well with those. Adaptive cruise control, avoidance of merging into a lane where there's something else in the lane, things like that. And that is only going to make us better drivers. That's good stuff.
Well,
and that's the first step.
It should make us better drivers.
And that's all stuff's out.
It's out.
Yeah.
It's just, as you point out, it's in the higher end cars.
Well, it's actually. You can buy a Subaru Outback with that stuff in it. And that's not a higher end.
It's getting better. Yeah, I love my adaptive cruise control because basically I can close my eyes.
I don't want to hear that.
I just put my hands back and I just say, if there's a car in front of me, just slow down, will you?
But I mean, we're all agreed that this is just a perceptual thing, right? I mean, we've got the technology to make safer cars, the cars that can drive themselves that are actually better than we are. Yeah. We just don't think people are going to make that jump to say, I want to relinquish control.
Isn't this always disruptive, John? I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what we talk about is disruptive stuff that changes the world.
This is classic disrupt. This is beyond disruption, these driverless cars. Well, this is a major societal change at numerous levels.
Much like the Segway.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
They're going to.
You count me on the person that never thought that was going to go anywhere, and I was right.
Who was it said this is going to change how cities are designed?
Steve Jobs and Bezos.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs says it was going to change the way cities are made, and Bezos said it was going to be the most revolutionary thing ever.
Yeah. The Segway.
They were sold a bill of goods.
Yeah.
Well, and the maker said no one would ever crash one, that he had made it possible.
And that's when the president went off the cliff, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I am excited about autonomous vehicles. I think it's going to be revolutionary. I think it's interesting that there's a category that is totally new to CES, and there is something to talk about. Let's talk about TVs when we come back. We're going to take a little bit of a break, because if you picked another category where there's constant innovation and kind of a scramble to create a market, because frankly, the TV sales have plummeted. It's that, and we'll talk about what was new in television. That we should get Robert on for.
Yes.
But first, let's talk about how a revolution in stamps. Oh, you might say. What? Mailing stuff. That's as old as Ben Franklin. No. Stamps.com is actually one of the biggest revolutions in mailing things ever. First of all, you don't have to go to the post office anymore. You can print your own U.S. postage from your computer and your printer on demand as needed 24/7. You don't have to drive. You don't need an autonomous vehicle to get to the post office. You don't have to get up from your desk. And then the mail carrier comes to you, picks it up. It's so easy. And by the way, this is not a postage meter. It's a fraction of the cost. No special inks. You've got everything you need. In fact, if you go to our Stamps.com page right now, Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page on the right there, and use the offer code TWIT. We're going to get you something else you don't have that you need, which is a great digital scale. TWIT is the offer code. That digital scale means you always have exactly the right postage. It's USB, plugs right into your computer. We're going to get you a 30-day trial, 4 weeks trial of Stamps.com, and up to $55 in free postage to use over your first few months as a Stamps.com customer. $55 free postage. So there's really no reason not to find out how Stamps.com can change your business. If you mail stuff in business, if you even just, invoices or brochures, we use it all the time for stuff like that, marketing kits. But if you're even more so, if you're an Etsy seller, an eBay seller, Why aren't you using Stamps.com? I still, every once in a while, buy something on eBay with postage stamps, licked postage stamps on the thing. It's crazy when you can do it this way. So much better. You'll even get discounts you cannot get at the post office. It'll fill out all the forms for you. If it's priority mail or some sort of confirmation mail, they'll email your recipient ahead of time with the code. All of that. Just professional. Stamps.com. Click the microphone in the upper right-hand corner. Use the offer code TWIT for a very special $110 bonus offer. That's what I looked like with hair, by the way. If you go to Stamps.com, click the microphone in there, TWIT, you'll see what I look like with hair. Gosh, it was a nice head of hair.
Can you just digitally take that and drop it on top?
Nice head of hair I gave up.
Wow.
Did I look like a different person a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
You look like a different person a lot.
You look like Balmer.
Steve Ballmer.
I was going to say,
Developers.
I was going to say Sling Blade. Ballmer's probably a much nicer comparison.
Sling Blade, thanks.
I was going to say Telly Savalas, but
Yeah. You can. This is the other thing I've learned after I shaved my head, again for charity, for good cause. It's growing back. I'll never do it again. Disclaimer. Is that you can tell how old somebody is precisely by who they say you look like. If they say you look like Curly from the Three Stooges, they're 80. If they say you look like Telly Savalas, 30s, 40s. If they say
Balmer, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't work.
Well, Ballmer's a special case. That's a geek. That's what the geek might say. If you say Uncle Fester, 50s, right? If you say, you're Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, it's a young person. If they say Pitbull, I understand that's a rap performer. If they say Pitbull, then
You look like Pitbull.
you know who Pitbull is.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
if
you
they
do.
say
You know what? You actually do.
if they say Pitbull,
Jason, picture of Pitbull, please. Or we could just cut
Just
you
pull
open
up the
and count
video
the
for
rings.
Timber. It'll be great.
Burfunkel says you look like my dad. All right. TVs. Did you go to the TV pavilions?
I did. Had to.
Did you watch the TVs? So we've been 4K. Look, I first saw 4K displays at CES 8 years ago, something like that. And even then I said, this is where the industry should go. This is really an exciting development. A lot of people said, nah, you're not going to notice anything on a smaller screen. It's only on a 70 or 80-inch screen you notice the difference. Did you notice a difference even on 55 or 60-inch screens? I think you do.
There's not much content. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? So the UHD Alliance is coming together, which is a bunch of television manufacturers that are trying to figure out how to get more 4K delivered so they can sell more 4K televisions. 4K screens are becoming less expensive, so 4Ks are going to be in the 1080p, and they already are in the 1080p range in terms of pricing.
Yeah, the prices have plummeted, maybe even less.
Well, here's the thing. Nobody's making it, like, Toshiba wasn't there. Vizio wasn't there. It's kind of like LG's OLED versus Samsung SUHD, quantum dot technology, which is essentially.
Did you see the quantum dot?
What's that?
Did you see a quantum dot?
Mini quantum dots.
Turn up Dvorak's bleed so that we can hear. Many quantum dots.
So the thing
almost an infinite number of quantum dots.
I want to know about these things.
Okay.
So let me just explain what this is. I think so. These are still LCD TVs.
Right.
They're still LED backlit LCD TVs, but they're now all white LEDs with a special quantum film between the LED and the screen that changes. What does it do?
Okay, so essentially the quantum dot technology gives you a more pure backlight or a more specifically controlled backlight, so that they are little pieces of whatever, bits, matter, stuff, that when they are hit with a specific wavelength of light, emit light at a specific
It's BS,
wavelength.
right?
No, actually it's not. It's an expanded color gamut. It's better looking reds. It's better looking greens. It's physically noticeable. There's a lot of stuff going on with the OLEDs at LG. One of the things that is spectacular is the black levels, because they're black. There is no light coming out of the monitor because it is off. With the Samsung SUHD and a lot of other places are using quantum dots. Quantum dots are.
It's a more efficient backlight, right?
Yeah, that's part of it.
And it's a better.
Can I ask a question?
So the question is, John, yes, it looks spectacular, whether you're talking about Sony's X900 or Samsung's SUHD.
They amplified the white.
Is it kind of spectacular enough that you'd say, I want this?
The thing Robert Heron said was that if somebody walks in and sees a 4K television with that doesn't have the expanded color palette, and a 1080p television that does have the expanded color palette, whether it's quantum dots or OLED or whatever it is, they're probably going to go for the expanded color palette.
It's going to look better.
It's going to look better.
You may not know why, but it's going to look better.
Reds especially look amazing.
Red is, and this is why I always wear red on the show. Red is traditionally very difficult for video.
Right.
It's too hot or something. Okay, so quantum dots are a real technology. Here's something that makes me sad, though. Plasma is all but dead.
Yes.
And I think many agreed plasma was the best-looking television sets. And I bought into OLED.
Right.
Now only LG is going to continue with OLEDs. OLEDs are dying. All these companies are putting all of their research and efforts into LCD. Why is that?
Because it's the only thing anybody can afford to make other than LG.
Right. It's cheap enough.
My understanding, right, and this I am not the insider on this, but my understanding is the only company that's making any money on televisions is Samsung right now, and their margins are like grocery chain thing.
Right.
Right. So
I have a Samsung OLED, but they're not going to make that anymore.
Well, they're
going SUHD. This is the new LCD,
and it looks pretty amazing.
Is it good? Is it as good as plasma?
I would probably say the LG OLEDs and the Samsung UHD are as good as or better than plasma.
I would say the OLEDs are.
Yeah.
But they're not making them anymore.
The super high-end TVs look absolutely spectacular. They're beautiful. They are
Sony
technology
XPR 9000.
demonstrators, but nobody's buying them.
Right.
I mean,
They're too expensive.
They're too expensive, and so someone may want that, but they're going to say, "I'm going to get 99% of the way there with this set that costs one half the price."
My Panasonic Viera was so good.
This is the same old story, though. We've always had this. Well, it's too expensive when it first comes out. Then it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper over time. Is it possible that OLED can't get cheaper? Or, I mean, why is
it has
OLED
gotten cheaper.
being dropped? Because everybody knows it's gorgeous.
But think about it. 4 years, was it 4 years ago, Sony had that 11-inch OLED television that was like $4,000, and now
I spent $9,000 on my 55. Now LG is selling a 55 for $3,500,
and that's on Crutchfield, so that's pretty much
that's list.
OLED
right?
has gotten cheaper. It just hasn't gotten cheaper quick enough.
Yeah,
everything
another
else is cheaper too.
Okay, so I guess the idea is we can make quantum dot and get 90%, 95%. How close? I mean, is quantum dot? It's not as good as OLED or plasma.
Robert Heron's going to be able to tell the difference. Robert Heron, or Scott from
Scott Wilkinson.
Thank you. Is going to be able to tell the difference. The machines are going to be able to tell a difference. I think for most people walking into a Best Buy or a Magnolia or their local video shop, it's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah, because those are the nitwits that buy LCDs.
But it's not even. But the LCDs aren't that bad.
It looks brighter.
But
they also detune them. They look like crap in these stores.
But even if you are in one of the rare stores where they properly calibrate everything right, you're in a serious videophile store, they're still going to look pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. Well, I mean, I'll accept this. I mean, this is what you're going to be able to get, and maybe LG will continue to make a high-end OLED for people who really know the difference.
Or they're going to get the technology to scale, and OLEDs are going to be chim. But that's also because of they wanted to push the energy requirements down farther, faster, and as the technology, the LCD technology gets better, the need for having plasma gets less critical.
Yeah. The big story, according to Scott at CES, was a 4K standard. Or I guess I'll now say UHD because that's really what it is.
Right.
A UHD standard for color gamut, for frame rate, for codec. They're going to use HEVC, which is the same as H.265, and there's a standards body now. It looks like finally the content and the TVs will have something to aim for, and that's good because we've been telling people, don't buy 4K until a standard is ratified at least, right?
Well, the 4K televisions, I mean, a box is going to feed your 4K television. But
if your TV doesn't have the color gamut that that the 4K or the UHD is capable of, then you're missing out something. I don't know if it's visible or not.
I don't know.
So this UHD alliance means we now have an agreement on UHD.
We have Samsung, Disney, Netflix, and a bunch of other people are going to argue and figure out what the
it's
UltraHD
it's Sony too. It's also Panasonic. It's also Sharp. So the content creators, the movie companies, and now the TV manufacturers, they've all agreed on the standard for UHD.
They basically just
they've all agreed to sit down.
They've all agreed to agree.
Right.
Yeah, they've all agreed to come out with a standard. But we've all been through this before, where at some point, like Fox and Sony or Samsung and LG, or it's still going to be.
So these SUHDs from Samsung, they're then not necessarily going to adhere to the standard? because we don't know what the standard is.
It's just minimum requirements.
Well, the color,
there's a lot of
color
TVs out there
spec,
that
the
are
color
below
standard's already been
actual
set,
4K.
right? We've known H.265 is going to be the spec
Right.
for this for a couple of years. The expanded color gamut has been set for a couple of years. Like they're not going to reinvent that for
So we're
for
pretty
the UHD
close.
Alliance. This is going to be about establishing how the stuff is delivered more than
Right.
anything else, right?
Getting Netflix to do it right.
Getting Netflix to do it right.
Disney, Fox, Warner,
You know,
all the big names.
Is there going to be a there's talk about a 4K Blu-ray spec coming out by the end
Well,
of
they did
2015.
announce that they will make UHD Blu-rays this year, right? So we suddenly, and those are 66 to 100 gigabytes per disc.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's going to be part of the deal. So it sounds like you shouldn't buy it today, but this fall, the fall is going to be the beginning of the UHD transition.
I wait with bated breath.
Yeah.
Truthfully, the production companies and the networks, creating 4K, basically scanning stuff on and releasing it in 4K is like 90% more important to this than whether or not the television spec's going to matter a lot less than there's actually content in some format being delivered.
And as usual, price and availability up in the air. We don't know how it's about $50,000. We don't know what it's going to cost.
And can we really run backwards? Everyone is so accustomed to getting what they want on demand via Netflix or Amazon or Prime or whatever it is. Are they going to go back to saying, oh, you know what? I'll wait 3 days to get this disc so that I can watch it in UHD.
I'm with you. I mean, I kind of have long proclaimed the death of physical media, but on the other hand, if you're going to go to UHD, now you really are in a demanding environment. Maybe, but
it's a special occasion.
Netflix today says you need 25 megabits down to watch their UHD streams. And that's not H.265, so maybe it'll be less. But they're certainly not as good as a UHD Blu-ray is going to look. I don't know. I might say, if somebody's this serious that they're getting a UHD TV, maybe they're going to get a UHD Blu-ray player as well, because they want to get they're saying, I'm a videophile. I want top quality. You're not going to, ESPN is 720p. You're not going to be watching football on UHD stream.
I'm not going to be watching football on broadcast over the air in a stadium, but that's me.
Right.
I mean, I also stream curling from Canada, so I'm a freak.
How is curling in 720p, or they've gotten to 1080? I bet they're 1080.
I don't think I'm streaming 1080p curling, but it's legitimate. It's going to be interesting to see, because I think nothing would make Hollywood faster. Nothing would make Hollywood happier than controlling the keys to the access to their content and never releasing physical media.
They love streaming, right?
Well, they love anything that requires you to purchase the right to watch the movie again, over and over.
Apparently, I might be wrong. I think Netflix is using HEVC now. They're already H.265.
I think so.
So if you're watching House of Cards or Marco Polo, these are UHD, and you have 25 megabits down. These are UHD streams.
Yeah.
And
4K
if you have
is
4K
a lot
TV,
of data.
It's a lot of data.
So
it's a lot of data.
I was streaming over my phone, which was fantastically fast in Hawaii, and I used 5 gigs in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just burned through it.
Oh. And you have a 4K phone?
Oh, no, we had to hook up to the 4K monitor.
Oh, to the monitor.
yeah.
All right. So sounds like you guys were pretty impressed by the television stuff you saw.
They're pretty.
Pretty.
The central hall is always glowy and blue and bright. But this year actually had different technologies. It's not just more TVs at bigger sizes. You could actually look at them and say, okay, this actually is an improvement over what I've seen in previous years. That impressed me. I haven't seen that at CES for the better part of a decade.
So here's so Engadget now does the best of CES. Remember we used to do that? Mm-hmm. Tech TV used to do that. I'm so glad we don't do that anymore. That was a nightmare. Best startup, a Band-Aid called the Amp Strip. It's a sticker you put on your chest, and it monitors your heart rate, steps, and other vitals.
Huh.
Okay. This is actually something that is a Kickstarter, the Dash, and it promised a lot, but nobody's ever really used it. They've had prototypes now for best digital health and fitness product. These are Bluetooth in-ear speaker, monitors, headphones that do all of the monitoring as well, all the fitness tracking as well. They also have a heart rate monitor, touch controls, Bluetooth, 3 hours battery life. So they said those were also the best wearables. But, you know.
Hey, how many people here in the panel have any of these heart monitoring
I do.
Watches, anything that they're using as the show is going on?
I have about a dozen of them in a box.
No, I wear my Moto 360 all the time. I forgot it today. But almost, I mean, this is like unheard of. I couldn't find it. But the Moto 360 has a heart rate monitor and a step monitor.
When I use a heart monitor, it's like a traditional Polar kind
Polar's
of
much better.
But I mean, I know a lot of people who live with a Fitbit or one of the wrist monitors. I mean,
of people.
you know, Garmin has some pretty good looking watches in terms of fitness watches these days. Are pretty.
You guys see the Misfit stuff?
We actually did a segment there.
Yeah,
the Shine.
They look like they're doing some interesting stuff.
A 6-month battery.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's not
bad actually.
And they announced some new products as well. Best automotive technology. See, this is a joke because this car probably will never, ever, ever, ever be made. The Mercedes F15 luxury and motion concept car, the car with no windows, because why would you want to see how close you came to being squished?
If you're I mean,
prisoners.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's such a radical revisioning of what a car is for most people. You know what I mean? This is like
concept car.
I think it was a cop out though. It was absolutely a cop out. They did it like this. They made this concept car based on the F015 frame so that they could say, "Oh, this will happen in the future. In 10 years.
This could happen in the future."
You look at what Audi and VW did. And
they actually drove cars there.
We sell these frames today.
Yeah.
I kind of like that approach.
Mercedes-Benz sees this car as a lounge in which you drift from destination to destination.
Well, sure. Yeah, this is William Gibson.
Yeah.
25, 30 years
Best home theater product. This is kind of interesting. EchoStar, the folks who do Dish, announced Sling TV. Remember, they bought Sling
This one, I think this is one of the biggest announcements of the show.
I agree with you, and I think it's underplayed. Perhaps deserves more attention. They've made a deal with ESPN, which is the most expensive, the #1 pay cable channel, right?
Right.
Everybody wants ESPN. They've made a deal to offer you ESPN for $20 a month.
No.
Plus
ESPN
other
has a
stuff.
dozen other networks.
And
well,
then
but it's a dozen other networks you don't want, plus ESPN.
That's not true. I mean, I know a lot of people who love the Cartoon Network. I know a lot of people who love
ABC Family, HG. What it really is a Disney deal because almost all of these are ABC Disney channels, including ESPN. But $20 a month. Is this a cord cutter's dream?
Not yet.
What's wrong?
It's nice. I like the fact that they're moving here, but they're pretending like it's an a la carte internet deal, and it's not.
No,
it's still a package, and then you have to add on. I mean, by the time you add on Discovery and whatever else you want, you're looking at $40, $50 a month.
It's actually a lot closer to your actual cable bill, especially if you throw in the internet access, which you need.
Exactly.
It's not. I mean, you're looking at like ESPN, ESPN2, TNT, TBS, Food Network, Home Garden TV, Travel Channel, CNN. I mean, there's a lot of pretty good stuff on here for $20 a month.
I'm not saying it's not good stuff. I'm saying for most people, there's going to be a channel that they really want that they're not going to get in this package, and they're going to end up paying either to continue cable so they can get that channel, or they're going to pay an extra.
But let's say you want to get HBO. Okay, now HBO says they're going to go a la carte too for maybe around the same price. So you got that. You're going to pay $40 for your internet. Now we got $80.
Well, I'm going to pay for my internet whether or not I have any of this other stuff anyway.
True. I'm not saying that, but I think it's going to end up close. In fact, I think it's no accident that it's going to end up very close to the cable bill you're already paying.
The problem.
The other thing is, let's not kid ourselves about what a la carte actually means. A la carte is not a subscription. When you go to a restaurant, you don't buy a steak frite and have to eat it for the next year, day after day. A la carte is the way it used to be, or I think there's still some elements of that in the old big giant C-band dishes because nobody cared about them. Where you could buy a movie on HBO, you could buy 1 day of HBO, you could buy 1 day of Showtime.
I remember that.
You could buy, you would just take that 1 day, and that's what you get billed for 1 day. You'd pay 50 cents, $1, whatever it would be. You want to watch ESPN when you want to watch a football game or something, you pay for that. That's a la carte.
Yeah. Well, no one's going to offer that.
Why not?
Well, I mean, that's also
because they can't scam your money. That's why
they don't get enough money out of you. Yeah.
Well, this is a big step. I mean, certainly, ESPN, Disney Channel, CNN, TNT, TBS. That's a big chunk of why a lot of people, especially ESPN, is why a lot of people have cable.
I think ESPN's a big one. And the problem is that if you want ESPN and you want HBO and you want locals, because you want to watch, you might have ESPN, but you're not going to see the Super Bowl. You're not going to see the playoffs on ESPN, so you need the locals as well.
Which
By
are
the time-
blacked out for your local team anyway.
But, well, not for the playoffs. By the time you
Get a antenna.
well, John,
You want the locals, get an antenna. I've
like
got an
many
antenna that
people,
gets-
we don't live near enough to a metro to get the locals. Petaluma, an antenna wouldn't do you any good.
You sure? Have you ever
Yeah,
tried?
yeah. We get channel 50. It's not a good channel. I'm not kidding. That's it.
It's Telemundo.
Telemundo. We get we get channel 50,
All right, well,
and we get
then-
the local PBS station from Roanoke Park. That's it. No 7, no 4, no 3, no 2.
That's the advantage of living out there in the middle of nowhere.
But we're not in the middle of nowhere. This is not the middle of nowhere, and that's the point. Is there are a lot of people who for whom an antenna? I agree. If you can get it, believe me, if you can get locals via an antenna, it's the best HD experience you're going to get, and it's free. So get it. Best connected home product again in Gadgets Best of CES, the Energis What Up. Did you see this? Do you know what it does?
It's wireless power distribution from a router.
No.
Within 15 feet.
It'll charge wearables, phones, and sensors from that thing? How is that?
I don't know.
They say it's close
Magic.
to, yeah, magic.
Induction.
They can't send enough power through the air
Induction.
to charge my
Tesla could
phone.
do it.
And if they could, it's going to cause cancer too.
Well,
Yeah,
That's the bonus.
that's
one
the
would
downside.
assume that the
Don't get close to my What Up.
wire-free power.
That's
Any battery-operated device that requires less than 10 watts works like Wi-Fi. A radio frequency system similar to a Wi-Fi system delivers safe, wire-free, and I'm reading from the Energis website, safe, wire-free charging energy at a distance of up to 5 meters, 15 feet from a transmitter to a receiver device, such as a mobile phone, and
that not
maintains
gonna-
charging while the receiver is in motion. 12 receiver devices can be managed by the system simultaneously.
it feels like
That,
it's going to heat
by
your
the way,
cells
was
up.
written by the late inventor.
Tesla is smacking his head right now.
Wow. Dell Venue 8 7000 tablet. This is actually kind of an amazing little
a nice
tablet.
piece of hardware.
Yeah, 8 inches, runs Windows 8.1 with a nice screen, 2560 by
2K
1600.
plus.
Say again?
It's 2K plus.
The cost?
No,
No.
the screen. It's
the screen.
2K
Oh,
resolution
God, I
plus.
thought if it's more than $2,000, I'm not buying it.
No, it's like a 8-inch 2560 by 1600 OLED screen.
Yeah, very
it's
nice.
$400 for the.
It's
for
cheap,
it.
and,
Yeah.
you know, Windows 8.1 runs great in 2 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Best TV, the LG Art Slim 4K OLED. Is this one of those, like, it's 3 inches or 3 millimeters thick?
They're all about 3 millimeters.
Well,
thick.
I mean, the Sony, the 4K
thinner
in
than an
Sony was
iPhone.
like 4.9 millimeters
Thinner
thick
than
for
an iPhone.
80% of the television.
And yet, do I care? No. Because it's on a desk. It's not, I mean, it's not,
or mounted against the wall.
it's mounted on the wall. It could be this thick. It doesn't make that much difference.
It's for that 30 seconds when you have a guest over and you go, oh,
they
take
go,
a look
"Ooh,
at this.
look at that."
You bring your TV out.
You have to rotate your TV. Best gaming project, the Razer Forge TV. I guess this is like the Fire TV. It's got games.
yeah, well, it's the
Is it
big thing.
Android?
It's funny. We spent a bunch of time, and Shannon and I spent a bunch of time in the Razer booth, and we were talking about this. And it plays Android games. We got a bunch of flack because
Like,
it
oh,
also streams. It'll also streams games from your PC, and we got a bunch of flack because we mentioned that because nobody mentioned it in the booth while we were in there. But it's cool. I mean, you know, it's an interesting little piece of
It's a
hardware.
micro console, new category we've invented.
I don't know how new it is. I think the Ouya and Amazon Fire
right.
TV got there first.
Now, we
but-
had the Happy Fork last year. Why didn't we have Belty this year?
Because I was this close to killing myself with the Happy Fork. I didn't want to choke myself with the belt.
Belty is a belt that loosens automatically.
There's so many things about that are wrong.
It does not. Does it do anything else? It's a motorized belt buckle that tightens and loosens itself. If you've eaten a little too much for lunch, it'll slacken slightly, then tighten back up before your pants fall down. It also is an activity tracker. Well, it ought to be at that size. The thing looks like Batman wore it, whereas
It looks like something from an airplane.
and it can monitor changes in your waist circumference.
I don't want that.
I don't want to know.
No, but as a weird ass thing you found it, or excuse me,
It's
best
best
offbeat
offbeat product,
product.
yeah.
It's a good choice.
Good choice for best offbeat product.
Yeah, and someone's going to hack it and just start tightening it on you.
3D printing MakerBot was there showing off filaments made from real materials like
Those
iron,
were I got to touch a few of those. They were pretty badass.
wood.
Felt nice.
Yes.
So that's been the problem, in my opinion, on desktop 3D printing is this crap, PLA stuff. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good, and it's going to break. So if you could make it out of something real.
It takes a little work to break PLA, and ABS is pretty common at this point. It takes a little work to break
It's
ABS.
still plastic.
Well, but yeah, this is interesting. Whether they've essentially like powdered materials and put them in the filament.
It's
yeah,
still ABS.
I mean, I spent a bunch of time at the wall. You know, a lot of people like at the wall of the MakerBot booth, like,
The bronze, according to MakerBot, can be polished. The iron can be magnetized. There's enough iron in it that you can actually magnetize it. And the wood smells vaguely of maple.
It just changes the texture. It doesn't really change the strength.
I think that, though, the materials in desktop, and I'm saying desktop 3D printing, could really be improved. So this is good. I think this is good. It's PLA composite filament with built-in metal or wood.
Well, you got to remember, like the current desktop printing technology is essentially 30-year-old technology where the patents have ended it. And when you get into the SLA stuff, where you're essentially, have a bucket of goo and you're lasering microdots out of it, or you're doing metal or something like that, it gets much more interesting. But we're not there yet at the desktop.
Well, XYZ has a what do you call it? Stereographic lithography machine.
Yeah.
So they do the laser one. And there was one booth in the South Hall that actually had a metal sintering printer.
I mean, if you have enough money, if you got 60 grand or if you got $800,000, you can buy that technology now.
Wonder if they could make it out of people.
Soylent 3D printing.
Okay.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, the most important stuff at CES, it wasn't TVs, it wasn't cars, it wasn't auto-sizing belts, it was drones. I want to talk about the drones. I know you must have covered that a little bit.
Maybe.
Little teeny weeny bitty. This guy's the king of drones here. And I want to talk about PCs too, and Intel, because Intel announced its Broadwell chips finally.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for PCs? But first, a word from our favorite place to create your next website, Squarespace.com. I'm thinking Patrick probably has a Squarespace site.
I do.
I thought you might.
I have 3.
3? He's a
soon to be 4.
4. Are you going to put what is it called? Tech Thing.
Tech Thing.
Tech Thing. I want to say
there
thing.
right now.
TechThang.com.
Yes.
Is that running on Squarespace?
It is.
Everybody now, right now, go to TechThang.com.
Actually, go to patreon.com/techthing because
that's not Squarespace.
but you should go to Squarespace now.
Okay, go to TechThing.com, and then you can go to Patreon. I'm sure there's a link at TechThing.com.
Well, I'm working on that.
Oh, there's not. Okay.
Squarespace makes it easy to make a website. I'm a customer of Squarespace.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
but
WYSIWYG.
You made it so quickly that you forgot a few things.
Well, yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Anyway, I just want to bring it down. I want to show you that if everybody watching right now, thousands and thousands of people, all go to techthing.com, or you know what, noagendashow.com works too. That's also a Squarespace site. This is John running back to the microphone. Yes. You cannot bring it down, and that's the beauty of it. I want you to go to squarespace.com. It's not only the best hosting, the most robust, reliable hosting in the world, it's also the best software on top of it. Squarespace 7 is here, and they've added some great new features. Of course, more beautiful templates, over 30. There are 14 new designs, so now you have over 30 to choose from. They've done something interesting. They now have some templates for specific professions: musicians, artists, architects, restaurants. For instance, Aviator, it's a business template. Gives you kind of a strong first impression, customizable full-page background, great for businesses, design firms, professional profiles. They have cover pages. This is kind of cool. If you want to make that site, you don't have a site at all. You want to make that site where people go, they find your name, and they see your brand or your personal identity or to promote a single product. Cover pages are great. Google Docs integration works with Gmail, Google Docs, Sheets, Drive, Calendar, and can easily link with branded email accounts to your domain. The new mobile apps are fantastic. We've got Portfolio, which is great for photographers, Note, which is just for a great note-taking app. It's free. Metric and Blog. And by the way, the Note and Blog apps are now on Android too. They're moving over. A developer platform too. Now, you don't have to be a guru to use Squarespace and get all these benefits. You can absolutely do it right now, drag and drop, point and click. But if you are a developer, you could do what, and some of the top digital agencies actually use Squarespace as a platform. They get the developers and they just customize it like crazy. You'll get the same coding platform Squarespace uses itself. Access to Getty images for just $10 each. You can pick from thousands of professional Getty images, use them on your site. E-commerce on every plan, every subscription. Social media, of course, integrate and link to your Twitter, your Instagram, your Google+, your Facebook, your Tumblr, YouTube, Pinterest, and on and on and on and on. So easy to use, and it all starts, well, first of all, you can use it free. You don't need a credit card or anything. Just go to squarespace.com and use just press the Get Started button. But if you decide to buy, you can take 10% off and show your support for the show when you use the offer code TWIT. It starts before the discount at $8 a month. That's the hosting. That's the software. E-commerce if you want it. If you sign up for a year, you get a free domain name, and you get 10% off that if you use the offer code TWIT. Squarespace. Start here. Go anywhere. Squarespace.com. There's a reason why everybody uses Squarespace. It's the best. So drones. Now you know how you do drones all the time.
Oh no, not at all.
No, not at all.
I don't know.
And is this drone? This the $40 drone that you've been crazy about?
No. These are both drones that we built on the show.
You made them?
Yeah, this is about $100. That's about $150.
And you found a really inexpensive drone that we've been using to pollute the skies.
Absolutely.
Now. Everybody uses.
That's a $50 drone that you can basically crash into people. So,
nice.
Yeah.
But I was excited. A couple of things I wanted to see. The Parrot AR Bebop. I was excited. This is a $500 drone with one super fisheye lens that the software then can take any segment. So the camera doesn't have to move for you to pan around or see any part of the world under the drone. What did you think of the Bebop? Did you play with that?
I did. It actually flies quite well. It's I thought it was going to be a toy. It's actually decently controllable.
They say it's pretty. They want it to be easy, right?
Is it again forcing you to go through the interface on a tablet or phone?
You can, but they have something called the Sky Commander, which actually adds sticks to the sides of your tablet, so that you can control it more like a traditional quadcopter. So you're using one of these little remote controls. But
so RC fans will like it because it has kind of it's a hybrid RC smartphone.
But then the nice thing is you can have someone else actually controlling where the camera is, and it's all optically, it's all stabilized, it's digitally zoomed, and unlike these quadcopters, if you put it into a location and then you release the controls, it will stay there.
Right. Yeah.
So it will hold its position, rock steady, getting you this beautiful footage.
So that's Go ahead.
I was going to ask. What do you think about the Chris Anderson's type of drone?
You mean the DIY drones guy?
Well, no, that once you pre-program its route, and then you push the button and off it goes to take photos.
It's a horrible idea.
Well, it depends. It depends on the drone, and it depends on the platform, it depends on the gimbal, and it depends on how good you are at flying it. Because
but it's autonomous. Is that what you're saying? It doesn't have.
It's autonomous.
That sounds not like a good idea.
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing. We always get people who are like, these aren't drones, these are quadcopters. I understand what they're saying, but drone just means that you have some sort of autonomous functionality in it. And any of these will have some sort of autonomous functionality.
Mostly just to hover, right?
Just to hover.
Just so that they stay stable. That's
right.
That's what the original Parrot AR did so well.
Exactly.
It was easier to fly because it had some autonomy. Look at is this from the Bebop?
This is from the Bebop.
How could the picture be so good?
It's a 1080p plus camera on the front.
Wow. Right. I love this.
Yeah, the FPV.
And put on a virtual reality helmet, and you can be where the drone is.
You can get about 11 minutes of flight time on that battery. You can get about 2 kilometers away.
$500. How much is the Sky Commander?
Guy off the hill.
Yeah, really. How much is the Sky Commander?
They didn't price that for us yet. They're sending us both, though, so we'll be able to play.
I'm thinking this is, because I wanted to get one for Henry. I thought this would be a good one for a teenager to play with.
Well, has he played around with like a $35 drone off? Buy him the $35 drone to learn how to fly.
The last thing I'm going to do is give Henry something that could chop somebody's head off from a distance.
Well, see, this flies more like those toy drones, where you're actually not going to destroy much if it hits it. It's nice and light.
Look, the FAA is right about ready to just ban these suckers entirely. They've already said you can't use them for commercial purposes.
I've actually got a really good story about that.
What's the story?
I was in Hawaii and found out that President Obama was on the island at the same time that we were.
Yes, he was.
And the FAA issued a directive saying you are not allowed to fly drones, quadcopters, while the president is on the island. So the first night, first day, I'm on Waikiki Beach, and I really want to fly this. And there's an officer there, and I ask him, I say, am I going to get in trouble flying this thing? And he says the FAA actually doesn't set policy. It doesn't set law. They've issued an advisory.
And they have no enforcement arm.
Exactly. He said they have no enforcement.
There's no FAA police to come get you.
So he said fly away, and then he actually looked at my remote.
He didn't care.
Yeah,
and then he ran away with his camera to videotape you for YouTube, waiting for the Secret Service to come in with shotguns drawn.
You actually flew a drone in contravention of federal mandate.
Well,
advisory.
It was an advisory.
It was an
FAA advisory.
All right. Okay.
So wait. Let's stop. What is the best beginner's drone for people to
That's
like
a good
Henry?
question.
The
to
SEMA,
learn for a while, learn on the little drone. I went to a toy shop in San Francisco that had a bunch of these drones, and they advised me there's one brand, there's a line of drones that goes from cheap, like 60's the cheapest, and all the way up to $500.
This is the one that this is the one
they're
Robert
probably
likes.
the hoops,
and they're little drones, and you can't wreck them.
Yeah.
You can
SEMA
take the
makes
whole-
a $35 drone, but that's not the one.
Go to Amazon.com.
This is 60.
Look for the SEMA, SYMA X5. That's a $50 drone delivered to you. That thing is nearly indestructible, and you can't hurt anything with it.
All right, SEMA
think that might-
X5.
yeah.
Yeah. Once you learn how to
might-
fly,
But wait a minute,
then
you're
build
saying
something.
you can't hurt anybody with it
we ran into
once you-
Brian's face
Yeah, I mean, like I've
on purpose?
on purpose.
Just to see?
Well, it was on purpose on my part, but he didn't know.
All right,
Yeah, I think this may be one of those drones. I'm talking about.
it's not a drone, it's a quadcopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
quadcopter.
there's a-
You get to learn how to fly these things accurately instead of like,
All right, well, let me
dumb
buy that
crap
one.
you used to
Exactly.
get in your Christmas.
Oh, well, this is
on
not
Christmas
eligible
and
for
you wreck it
Prime.
in a-
Son
It's
of a gun.
50% shipping.
I already ordered it. If you want it for Prime, it's $52. All right, so that's not so bad. What was the best drone you saw at CES?
It's got to be the DJI
was gonna-
Inspire.
it has to
that
be.
thing is beautiful.
We have a DJ.
We
right?
have footage. We actually did this for
Yeah.
our CES footage.
The
It's got
Inspire
variable
ones-
geometry.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it lifts the motors and the skids out of the way so that the camera below has an unobstructed 360-degree view, and it's 4K. It's beautiful.
it's a beautiful camera. It comes with a gimbal because that's one of the problems with the DJIs. They didn't come with a gimbal, so you either had a static camera mount or you started hacking gimbals onto it, which worked with less or greater effectiveness. 18 minutes. This is a game where they're claiming like 18 minutes of flight time, like a 2-kilometer range. 18 minutes is like forever in drone flying terms.
What's this model again? Can you say it?
The Inspire.
Inspire 1
Yeah.
from DJI.com.
And this is one of those models where you could have one person piloting the craft, and then you have a cameraman who's actually pointing the camera.
That's actually smart because it's very hard to do both. I would
And they've
imagine.
added a feature where you can actually detach the gimbal from the craft, and it becomes a handheld. So you could do like steady cam shots with it.
Yeah.
Steady
much?
Cam 4K, between $2,000 and $3,000, depending on how you outfit
So
it.
it's good we didn't buy that other DJ that everybody wanted to get last month.
Right.
Because this one is the one we're going to get,
We're getting
right,
this
John? Next year.
They offered us a deal.
Like how much of a deal?
I'm not sure.
Would it compromise our integrity?
No.
Not that good
Or
a
I'll
deal.
just build it.
I'm ready for a deal that'll compromise our integrity. That's the deal I want.
I don't know if you saw it. There was a really good article on Gizmodo before Christmas, the best drone for every beginner. And Sean Hollister at Gizmodo went and bought like 15 drones off of Amazon.
What did he like?
Actually, a bunch of them. He kind of talked about which ones were best for what situation, like AirHog's Helix X4 Stunt, which is one you can actually buy
played
in
with that one,
Targets.
right?
The best miniature drone was the UDI U83-9.
What good is a miniature drone? I want a
for-
drone that can hurt somebody.
Well, you can hurt. I mean, you can hurt somebody.
should we be worried about? Okay, there's two issues: safety and privacy.
Okay. Let's talk about the reason you buy a $33 drone off of Amazon is because, there's kind of 2 or 3 reasons. One, they're hard to kill. 2, you're going to make a lot of mistakes when you're learning how to fly a drone.
Right.
And it's better to make those
What kind of
mistakes.
mistakes?
Running it into a wall, crashing it into the ground, blowing off the landing, getting them caught in trees.
Destroying
The
it.
biggest mistake you will make when flying a quadcopter is, so this is forward.
Right.
And then you turn it around and suddenly this is backwards. So if you don't keep track of your orientation,
I'm confused
switch-
already.
Yeah, exactly. You'll
Right.
switch your control input.
And what'll happen?
And then you'll go left and it'll go right, or you'll go back and it will go forward.
So you got to practice with
You
these
got to
things.
practice a lot.
And
Which is
the
why
ri-
you get the
but-
small
but,
ones.
But okay, again, safety and privacy. So let's talk with safety. It's possible on many of these drones to fly them outside of the range of your controller.
Yes.
Then what happens?
It falls out of the sky. It shoots towards the ground at top speed. It
At
stops.
random-
It hovers.
Unless you build one of the ones that we taught you how to build on know-how, because it will actually start making a lazy left turn to let you
Right.
reacquire signal.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because like the DJI Phantom, which is a pretty expensive, pretty nice drone and does all sorts of cool GPS stuff, if you fly it out of its range, a friend of mine found out it will actually drop out of the sky and slam itself into the ground at top speed. which was great because
It's great on camera.
He was in Palm Springs in the hotel, and it's like all of a sudden and he had to go in this matronly woman
Haven't
answers.
there been horrific injuries with drones? I mean, isn't this kind of a dangerous thing?
It can be dangerous.
Okay.
Far more people are killed by small planes every year than
By
drones.
RC planes,
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah.
And we're talking about banning.
And people, a
drones.
lot
but
of
I
RC,
think
there's very little control on RC planes, right?
Well, I mean, it's like more people are killed by hammers every year than like hammers and baseball bats and rebar.
I know,
than are killed
but
by-
understand that this is a category that is growing exponentially all of a sudden. It's like so like everybody's getting a drone now, right? So that's I think that yes, maybe there haven't been problems yet. But I think there might be a problem any minute now. Okay, that's one. Two, safety. I mean, privacy. Right. So there's also this concern. They've banned drones in national parks. There's this concern that
they ban drones in national parks because it's incredibly irritating to hike 5 miles in the middle of nowhere.
It's annoying.
Because you go there for the peace, and suddenly all you hear is.
Well, see, that's the sound you don't want to hear. You really don't want to hear that sound. Yeah. Are you in control of that thing?
I am a
it's not gonna
trained
injure
professional.
somebody? Okay.
Ram him.
It is, yeah, I feel like I would be tempted. Look at that. Look at that. He's a master of the drone.
Yes, he is.
Have you got a drone for your kid yet?
Yes, I have. We're sharing. He's learning. We started with a Radio Shack helicopter, which is pretty cool, and then we picked up one of the Air Hogs because I could find it immediately at that point. Because we started with the Parrot AR. Parrot ARs don't work so well on Android devices, in my experience.
No, they
in
lag
fact, it's a
out.
miserable, painful.
So most of these you're flying with your smartphone.
No. Like the Parrots fly with the smartphones.
Yeah.
That was
Everything
their
else
big
flies
selling
with the
point.
controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I would prefer to use it. Like I think Parrot works great on iOS. It's a pretty atrocious flying experience or control experience on Android.
Yeah. How about the Bebop? Should I get a Bebop?
Wait for the Bebop to come. You can play with it
And get a review.
Start with the trainer because you will crash, and every time you
Well,
crash,
I just
you
ordered
get more
that
data.
$50 SEMA.
Perfect.
That's
Once you
cheap.
get that, we'll build you
I'll
one of
practice
these.
that. Why is it something that you build better, besides the fact that it's cool to build it?
What we've been trying to do in know-how is when you build a craft and when you have someone actually explain how it works, you're not as likely to do stupid things with it.
Because you have some ownership.
You have ownership. Also, like I like DJI, but one of the biggest problems with DJI is you buy these
Any idiot can
potentially
get one.
fatal craft.
Yeah.
And you think that it's a toy, so you send it 400 feet up, and now you don't know how to get it back down.
Now it's going to plummet.
If you build it, you actually understand the physics that go into making it work.
Yeah.
There's been a site for years. We've talked about it before. DIY drones. You like this site? Is this a good site? This is kind of, these guys have been doing this for a long time. DIYdrones.com. I don't know why. Oh, Golden Globes. They're going to be drone will be used to film celebs on the red carpet. They're everywhere. Every TV operation has to have a drone. We have a DJI Phantom just because we're a TV operation. We've used it once. But actually, we got it because John wanted to play with it, I think.
I actually have footage of you flying around on a drone.
Me flying on a drone?
It's a know-how project. It's a Leo bobblehead on the back of this drone flying around San Francisco.
What about the privacy concerns? That people are going to start piloting drones right up to your bedroom window looking in.
You know, I feel like we had this conversation in 2002 when you walked in with that first Nokia phone with a camera.
Yes,
and
I was right. That was before anybody knew what the word upskirt meant. I was right. And now it's, what are you laughing at?
No.
Okay.
They knew before that.
I think I'm worried about drones too, looking in my bedroom. Not that, you can close the curtains, though. That's the difference.
And then on Know-How, there's going to be a really awesome segment where you do a DIY focused EMP emitter.
There we go.
So that when the neighbor's kid sends the drone over to take a picture of your daughter, you'll be like, zink, thump. It'll fall out of the sky, and you'll throw it on the pile with the rest of them.
Is the coolest thing about the drone the fact that you can put a camera on it and you get these beautiful aerial images? That seems to me
one of the coolest
That's
things.
the first thing you notice.
I wish I knew somebody in PR at DJI, because the day before CES they were having the people who were doing the drone combat, the drone races.
We had them for New Year's Eve, the game of drones. That was wild. Drone combat.
I can do FPV, first-person view on this little one.
Yeah,
and doing FPV races with other racers. It is so much fun. You strap
Do you
on
wear
a set
an
of-
Oculus Rift, or what do you wear?
It's just
Could
a
you
set
use
of
a Rift?
LCD glasses.
Oh, that's all it is.
So it's like you're sitting in the front of the cockpit here, and you just get a sense of speed.
Darren over at Hack 5 has been using them with the Wi-Fi pineapples, and for war driving. It's one of those things where it's like,
okay, see, right now I'm starting to say, war driving. That's a good idea. with a drone. Has he weaponized the drone yet?
I think actually the United
Lasers?
States military is in the lead on weaponizing drones.
I put an airsoft gun on this one.
And
Did
you really?
Yeah, I was just shooting at some cans.
Can you shoot stuff?
Oh yeah, but we're not doing that for know-how for obvious reasons.
You put an airsoft on a drone?
Yeah, it's easy.
Okay.
How about a one-shot zip gun?
There you
And
go.
that would be easier than an airsoft. So yeah,
how
you
long
can
before-
really take this tech in a bad place.
How long before assassins start using drones?
We're already doing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, never mind.
But those cost a lot more than these.
Those are more expensive. Yeah. There are guys sitting in basements in Las Vegas who are flying drones all over the world. Those are really drones.
Well, I mean, those are
Those are drones.
UCAVs.
Yeah.
Those aren't just drones.
What's a UCAV?
What's the line between a
Unmanned
drone and
combat
an
air vehicle.
unmanned aerial vehicle?
Gun.
Gun. All right. The other big announcement, I thought, was an announcement that was delayed. Intel had said we'll have the Broadwell chips by fall. They didn't.
Right.
But I'm sure you've talked about this on This Week in Computer Hardware, the show Patrick does every week with Ryan Shroud on this network. Yes. Broadwell, not all of the Broadwell, just the mobile parts.
Yeah, so basically the Intel NUCs, the little Intel computing boxes were there, and then one of my favorite things of the show, Dell's XPS 13.
Love that. Now tell us about that.
Okay, so I found the Dell booth, and there's two things I kind of fell in love with. We were talking about this before. The Dell UltraSharp 34 curved monitor. It's very similar. Samsung's going to have a similar monitor later on this year, like 6 months out. Right now, you can go buy the Dell UltraSharp 34, which actually somebody in the chat room said that I can buy it for $1,000 if I find the coupons. So it's a 21:9 ultra-wide monitor that looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
That actually starts at $799. What you're looking at right now, that's
This
XPS
is
13.
almost bezel-less.
Yes,
13-inch.
I mean, it's basically like an 11-inch MacBook Air will fit inside of that thing. Because Ryan has a picture on PC Perv, like an 11-inch MacBook Air sitting inside of that and looking very clunky.
Wow.
By
I came so close. This is on. You can buy this today.
Yes.
I almost bought one.
It's gonna ship like depending on which screen you get. It's gonna ship either at the end of January or the middle of February.
And these are running the new 5th generation Broadwell chips. That doesn't mean faster, slightly faster, but mostly they're a 14 nanometer process, so that's much lower heat and much better battery life.
A much better. So the graphics built into the Intel processor are going to be significantly faster. We're hearing somewhere between 20 and 30%. I'm going to call it like 25%. They're claiming like 90 minutes additional battery life over, over the Haswell processor.
What are they getting for the new XPS 13? It's like 15 hours.
They're claiming 15 hours.
15 hours.
I want to. Of course, like if anybody at Dell wants to send me a laptop, please. But you know the other thing is, but it's starting at like $800. Which is pretty for the 1080p screen, and they're offering it without a touchscreen, which I think is a great idea because I think the touchscreen thing has kind of run itself down.
The new the QHD screen on a 13-inch seems like that might be too much resolution.
You know, it's funny you say that because I'm running a Dell XPS 13 right now, and I've been in a bunch of situations because I've been doing a bunch of work. Like, what's the code for Squarespace? One last time.
Twit.
Thank you. You know, where I want to have my Squarespace window up, and I want to have the Patreon window up, and I want to have something else up, and I'm actually kind of dying for a higher resolution monitor because I spent a few months working on a 4K desktop monitor.
So you want the Quad HD?
I want the Quad HD.
Now you can't get touch screen in the 1080p one.
I'll be honest with you. I use the touchscreen like when I'm opening up the laptop instead of hitting the space bar.
Yeah.
And then once in a while I'll touch it again. I've been using touch screens in all-in-one desktops. I've been using touch screens with Windows 8.1 and with Windows X or Windows 10.
So you'd say get QHD.
I'm not a huge fan of touch screens on tablets. They're amazing. On desktops and laptops, not as fascinating to me.
So $999 for the non-touch 1080p screen. 12, or actually as little as $800.
I think it ends up being $300 to get the Quad HD
more
screen.
for Quad HD. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And double the memory.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. You got 8 gigs in the...
8 gigs is what the XPS 13 is going to max out at. Yeah. But the new processor, they're claiming, significant. I don't know about significant, but a healthy reduction in power consumption, which equals they're claiming 90 minutes additional battery life.
This is a TOC, so it's a new process, but similar architecture.
Yeah, maybe depending on who you ask, 4% to 8% to 10% overall CPU performance compared to Haswell.
Here's why I didn't pull the trigger on this XPS 13. in fact, it's kind of a surprise. Usually Apple's the first out of the gate with a new Intel chip.
Right.
And in this case, it's Dell first out of the gate. But I imagine that we've heard this rumor there'd be a MacBook Air 12-inch with super thin design and stuff. This actually kind of makes me think this is going to be very much what the new MacBook Air Retina might look like.
Maybe.
Yeah. I would imagine Apple would announce something like soon.
When they did this presentation for me, I was listening. I'm like, oh, it's decent specs. And then they got to the price, and I said, excuse me? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Because I was expecting it to start at $1,200.
$800. What do you get? For $800, you get the i3 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and 128 gig SSD.
But it is a fantastically.
It's not bad.
It is skinny. It is MacBook. It is
very slender.
Yeah, it is one of the most amazing Ultrabooks I've seen so far. And the keyboard feels fantastic.
You like the keyboard?
And the software they're running on the touchpad is fantastic.
I'm very happy with this Acer S7. I've been using this for 2 years.
Me too. That's what I have.
When I saw the new Dell, I was thinking that might be my new notebook.
It's the S7 replacement.
Dell, can you send a photo? Just like 3 or 4. We'll take care of them. We'll do it right.
That's an intriguing product. And so, but it's not just Dell. I'm sure we're going to see Broadwell in a lot of newest systems. Were there other people showing it there?
Intel.
Intel had its NUCs.
Yeah. Well, no, sorry, not Intel. I mean, Lenovo actually had a laptop.
Oh, and Lenovo
with
had
Broadwell in it.
1.7 pounds. It felt like it was hollow. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's at Yoga, right?
No. It's actually lighter than the Yoga.
Let me pull it up.
I
got some other Yoga-like name.
The Lavi.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, this is not the X1 Carbon, the new X1.
I thought it was different.
There is an X1 Carbon with Broadwell as well.
It was
the Lavi.
The power adapter weighs more than the laptop.
Lavi Bohem.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan got hands-on with this one. I didn't get a chance to play with it. They said they were like, it's a sub 2 pound laptop. It is a ridiculously light laptop.
Wow.
But they looks like CNET did a full preview, and PC Per got hands-on with it. And it's interesting because it's like a magnesium lithium shell.
Right. They had to remove all the aluminum and steel from the chassis because they needed to save every last ounce of weight.
Yeah.
So what is the sacrifice then on this? Is it expensive?
It feels a little plasticky.
A little plasticky. It's only got 8 hours of battery life. It maxes out at 8 hours of battery life. I think they top it off at an i5. They don't go to i7. You can't do an i7 in that chassis. Which
for most people isn't going to be a big deal. It's like 2560 by 1440 on the monitor, and it's ridiculously light. It's a sub 2 pound Core i5 laptop.
And 2560 by 1440, so it's high res.
Yeah.
SSD.
Yeah, like Patrick said, the one thing that put me off is when I picked it up, it did not feel...
Feels cheesy.
Stiff. It didn't feel like a laptop. It felt like a plastic box.
It's magnesium lithium.
Yeah. It's a weird
element. Lighter than aluminum.
It's all metal.
Yeah. I'm sure I'd get used to it. It just doesn't feel like it has the heft it should have.
Yeah, I mean the thing that Ryan said on This Week in Computer Hardware is it was so light it felt like plastic.
Right.
Despite the fact that it was metal.
Sometimes heavy stuff feels more quality. Even
yeah.
But at the same time, if you're putting it in your nose,
traveling for God's sake,
if you're putting it in your backpack, you might want the light.
But I mean, the difference between a 1.9 pound notebook and a 1.7 pound notebook.
But this is so, and then
0.2 pounds.
To bring back what Leo said, the MacBook Air is currently like 2.96 pounds. So maybe that's going to be the big thing for the MacBook Air. Is
there have been rumors in the renders of this new MacBook 12-inch MacBook Air. Look very much like this Dell with a very narrow bezel, very thin, very light, and this is actually controversial, no connectors, because the thing is so thin you can't put real connectors. You have to use this new USB connector that it says ultra thin connector. It's the one connector. This is according to Mark Gurman 9 to 5 Mac. It will be the power connector, the video display connector, and the USB connector all in one.
Yeah,
one port. One port.
To rule them all.
One expensive connector. Great.
Yeah,
but the XP, I mean, that was funny because the XPS 13, they're doing an external adapter so you can do VGA and HDMI and a bunch of other stuff. And they're selling it for $40. There's no power supply in there, but...
This is the new USB Type-C spec.
But yeah, John, I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see what the Mac tax is going to be on the adapter for that.
I think
$60 minimum.
I think, though, you are going to see more systems, especially as they get thinner, use this Type-C connector because it's, for one thing, reversible. Hallelujah, finally. And it's got 10 gigabit performance. That's pretty darn good. can apparently carry both power and video.
Right.
Although that is annoying to have to, have one port on your laptop that everything has to use.
I just envision having a laptop with that one cable coming out, and then it's branching out into this monster.
That's what
of
Apple's become,
accessories.
though, isn't it? Apple's become you only have one port. But
Have you seen the Mac Pro?
Yeah, I have the Mac Pro.
It's so neat until you look behind it.
I guess it wouldn't take much to just take like a pen or a pair of tweezers or something and stick it in that port.
Oh, come on.
Somebody you don't like.
Oh, Lord.
You're just mentioning it,
John,
goofy things you can do in your spare time.
Goofy things for fun. Or maybe design a drone to do it. Intel, speaking of Intel, we'll do one more Intel story, has allocated $300 million for workplace diversity. They were dinged, along with some other high-tech companies, for having a low number of women working there and very few people of color. So Intel has said,
You don't have to spend money for this. You just change your policy.
just hire them. Well, some of this money is going to go to schools, towards education, to fund engineering scholarships and to support black colleges and universities, that kind of thing. So I think this is great. We'll see, but
it won't change anything.
if it doesn't change anything, then that's disappointing. According to Intel, 18% of undergraduate engineering degrees go to women, and they want to increase that number. And then other news on the New York Times, there's a guy in underwear. I don't know what that is.
We didn't cover the Curie.
The what?
Intel Curie.
Intel Curie?
That was
What
actually
is that?
a big announcement. They released a dual-core, tiny little chipset. It's a system on a chip that they believe will be used by wearables. So the idea is to give communications, horsepower, memory, everything in one tiny package, so you can enable the Internet of Things / wearables on pretty much anything.
But I thought the Qualcomm was going to own the Internet of Things.
Everybody wants to.
Everyone wants to own the Internet of Things.
Well, and there are also people who have been very interested in this HDMI Windows 8.1 computer.
Okay, so the Intel
Stick.
Compute Stick, yeah. So Windows 8.1 or Linux, HDMI out is going to require micro USB per power. Has
$150.
Yeah.
Now, don't assume that this is a USB key with Windows running on it. It isn't. This is a computer. There's a processor. It's RAM.
Right.
It's a computer in a stick. That's kind of cool.
Yes. For
They've
100
been working on trying to shrink these things since they came with the NUC.
You can't get much smaller than this.
Well, I think it's also because they're looking at Raspberry Pi, they're looking at Arduino, and it's kind of funny because they did it at IDF. They had some of their smaller, super low power that were like sort of Arduino / Raspberry Pi competitors that are available. This is actually a full PC essentially that plugs into an HDMI port.
So any TV or monitor with an HDMI port, you just plug this in and now it's a computer.
Well, you'll need a micro USB connection for power also.
Right.
At this particular generation.
Why they didn't make an MHL version of this?
MHL is kind of hurting.
Nobody's doing MHL.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny.
So it's running an Atom processor. Go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
No, yeah, and it's not it's not the Atom processor from.
It's not your father's Atom processor.
Yeah, I actually was right about to say that, but the yeah, it's like the Pentiums now are essentially the same, are essentially running Haswell technology too. So so
this is Bay Trail.
Yeah.
System on a
This
chip.
is not a bad. I think this is a good idea.
It's a good idea, but I think a lot of people are missing what it could be used for. Right. This is entree for VDI, for virtual desktop infrastructure. Ooh. All of these little systems that seem really underpowered, the whole idea isn't you want the computer plugged into your TV. You want what the computer is connected to. So if you've already got a desktop, a laptop, you've got something in the cloud, you've got Amazon Cloud Compute, you can use one of these as a thin client to access that. Microsoft is already, right now, you can package up your Windows desktop, drop it into Azure, and then access it on one of these VDI devices. And you have your full desktop with everything and all the power of the computer behind it.
Right.
And all that device does is basically provide the
terminal.
content. It's a terminal. It's the thin client. It's come back.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, before we wrap up CES, anything else you guys wanted to talk about that happened at CES?
Samsung external SSDs look really, really cool.
The EVO 850 out now? That's their newest. That's supposed to be... Alan Malventano for PC Perspective said that's the one to get.
Yes.
Very few booth babes. I was actually very happy about that.
Yes.
I think they got...
They run when they see you coming. They go, oh, here comes the priest. Quick, hide!
You were happy to see these girls out of work.
No. They were still in work. They just
Believe
had
me, they can
clothes on.
find work. There's other work.
Whoa.
Gentlemen,
Okay, sorry.
now's a great time to
Take
move
a
to our
break.
next sponsor.
Let's take a break. Yeah, I think that's the entire. I think basically you just now in an hour and a half everything you saved a lot of money. You didn't get sick, I hope, and you now know everything. We didn't talk about CarPlay.
I think that is accurate.
I felt like sometimes it's sort of.
Jeez. It's Zeus.
If you're not watching the video, just pay no attention to this. I sometimes feel like CES is like Groundhog Day. Like it's the same. It's like wasn't I just here?
I don't know.
This year was different. This year felt better. There was
This is
more
where I
substance.
came in.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I mean, it was funny because like all the 3D printers and all the health stuff, and then a bunch of these sort of, some Kickstarter stuff, and then a bunch of overseas stuff was all in the Sands. And
Interesting.
it was interesting to look at that because it was
3D printing.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the 3D printing people were ticked that they were over in the
they're
Sands,
off
and I know, but it was
a lot of people don't make it to the Sands.
but it was definitely worth going there. But it was
the show.
Yeah, I mean
That's where the Adult Video Expo used to be.
a long time. Yeah, which is like 3 weeks away now. But it was interesting to see how things kind of
Got a
got
restraining order, I think. You must be 3 weeks away from any event.
That's really funny. I'm just remembering when we were doing DLTV live down there the first time at 6 o'clock, the Adult Expo, because it was like literally half of the Sands.
You could
was
tell which crowd was
electronics, and half of the Sands was the Adult Expo, and they let out while we were in the middle of a live broadcast, and we nearly lost the person switching the feed because they were like,
There are a lot of people
You
in
could
heels.
sit there and look at the crowd and say AES, CES, AES, and then every once in a while, borderline, could be either.
Go to both. John, I'm figuring, here's my new plan. Every 3 years, every 2 years, what do you think?
That's about right. Every 2 or 3. 3 is probably conservative. That's good. Yeah,
Every
and
3
you're
years you
gonna
go.
set up shop. You're gonna set up shop like you used to.
That's really
Callie
expensive.
Lewis took away all your.
It took 4 different entities to do what we did.
You don't have to set up shop anymore.
Mobile Nations, Tom's Hardware, Geekbeat TV, and another one to pay for that booth and the thing. It cost us $250,000, John. I can't do that every year.
CEA has stages they set up in the South
Right,
Hall.
easy, and you've used
You can
those.
use
Tech
free,
Villa.
totally free.
Yeah. Well,
Dave
that booth is free. We
Graveline,
didn't,
but Graveline
that
was
booth
there.
was free because they don't charge you for the real estate. But then you got to get a booth. You got to build the booth. You got to light the booth. You got to bring in 20 people. You got to pay for airfare.
No,
and
they pre-build it. The stage is already there.
Oh yeah, no,
So you
those
just come
little
and
ones. Yeah,
broadcast,
yeah. But I'm talking about the one we used to do.
And you can stay
was-
at my house.
it was nice
Just
this
have
year
the
to
entire
go-
Twit crew at my house.
It was nice
There are
this
a
year
lot
to
of priests
walk
there?
around for 3 or 4 days.
It's your house.
It's my house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was.
Save me money.
It was nice to be down there for 3 or 4 days and kind of like talk to people and look at things and not have to,
Not work.
I
would like to do
worked
that.
my tuchus off the day after I got back, but it was, and I worked, I talked to a lot of people, I took a lot of notes, I looked at a lot of stuff, but it was nice not to have to stop and produce a 2-minute, like 25 2-minute videos in 3 days.
I think that's nice.
It makes it a much more
That's bad.
luxurious experience.
Yeah. Yeah, the one time I went to Comdex without any assignment, it was really fun.
Yeah.
Our show today brought to you by our friends at Shutterstock.com. At Shutterstock, you'll find the perfect image or video for your next creative project. Whether it's a website, a publication, an advertisement, a video, many movies. I've noticed Shutterstock in the credits of many movies because they have video clips. And a lot of times, instead of getting the helicopter shot of, Hong Kong coming in from the bay, you go to Shutterstock.com, there it is. At Shutterstock.com, you will find the perfect video or image for your next creative project. Actually, we should get the latest count. 46 million, it says here, but I bet that's low. High-quality stock photos, illustrations. They've got vector images, video clips as well. They add, 250,000, 300,000 new images every single week. And, of course, because they've got the best search engine in the world, it's easy to find what you need. So don't be overwhelmed by the fact that Shutterstock is constantly growing at that rate. You could choose an individual image pack or a monthly subscription for the best deal. We do the 25 images a day. That's a nice subscription for a publication. And, of course, you could download any image in any size and pay once. These are royalty-free. Sophisticated search tools make it easy to drill down by subject, by color, by palette, by file type. You can even say gender. You could say, I want 3 people in this image. I want 2. When you find an image you like, even if you're not buying it, you can save it to a Lightbox. All you need to do is create a free Shutterstock account. You can do that right now. And share it with team members or just keep it around for later. They've got an amazing iPad app, just gorgeous. In fact, it's Webby Award-winning. They're international, too. Multilingual customer support, more than a dozen countries, full-time throughout the week. I want you to take a look at Shutterstock. Yeah, there's Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. See, people go down to get that image. Why bother? You can get it right there on Shutterstock.com. I guarantee you, you see these images, these videos in more movies than you'd think. You could try, because there's such high-quality images. You could try Shutterstock today. Sign up for that free account. No credit card needed. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock to kind of brainstorm. Imagine what your next project could be like. Save those images for review or sharing with your colleagues. If you decide to buy, whether it's a subscription package, an image subscription package, if you decide to buy, use the offer code TWIT115, TWIT115, because it's January 2015, and you're going to get 20% off your image subscription package. Wow. Shutterstock.com, 20% off image subscription packages on new accounts, but you've got to use our offer code TWIT115. We thank Shutterstock for their support of This Week in Tech. Gosh, I can finally stop talking about CES. Whew. Although I do have some drone footage. We show this on Mac Break Weekly. There's a guy who flies his drone over the Apple campus to keep up on this is the spaceship campus that Apple's building in Cupertino. And I love these drone images. He also puts dramatic music.
We could do this if you want. We'll do a twit feed.
Why should this guy get all the credit? There he is. And here we go. We're taking off from the parking lot just outside the Apple campus. It's coming along. I just want to get an invitation to visit sometime. I know, I never will. Steve Jobs' revenge. From the Leo will never enter this campus.
I mean, if you'd like, we could attach an iPad to the bottom of the drone and stream this.
This is why people buy drones. This is amazing footage, right? It's also why people buy shotguns to shoot down drones.
It's the way to go. I think you make a good business out of selling some sort of netting outside off the roof of your house.
Drone netting.
They come up to the
call it
window to look inside, and you pull a thing, and it catches the drone, and then you can use it as ransom.
If you catch somebody else's drone, can you use it? I mean, it's not like locked.
No. If you get someone else's drone, you could just fly.
It's yours.
Period.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, you probably shouldn't, but
there's probably a few switches in there. You can make it yours.
Make it yours.
I would never fly it that close to freeways, though. I have a thing. I don't like flying over populated areas.
Seems like this is dangerous.
Yeah. This is why the FAA will do something about this.
Right.
Because people are flying in them in dangerous ways.
Oddly enough, though, even though they've banned it for commercial use, they have now given out the first licenses to realtors and to farmers. Farmers use this to look at their crops, check out their crops, and they've actually done this. So there you go.
Probably the backlash from like giving the studios permission to use this stuff commercially.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I'm a realtor. Can't I just?
That is beautiful footage, though. I'm just kind of mesmerized.
The quality of it.
Yeah, we're all like sitting here staring at this. It's like, this is great radio.
We should really do this.
This is great.
People staring at a monitor.
Same thing. Great radio, Leo.
Hey, this isn't radio. This is Twit. Get it right.
Yeah, we've got people in the chat room saying, it's not dangerous. You're talking about a 10 to 15 pound of equipment that might be 1,000 feet up. If you lose control of it, you have absolutely no control over where it's going to land.
Or if it gets sucked up into the engine of a plane, or if it gets run through a windshield. I mean, because the other thing is people keep forgetting that this is the early stages, and these things are just going to get faster and heavier, and they're going to carry bigger and bigger lithium-ion batteries. Yeah. A lithium-ion battery is a brick that can burst into flames if you screw it up.
It's also, a bomb.
This thing falls out of the sky, and it can hurt someone pretty badly. This larger one falls out of the sky, it will kill you.
Yeah.
If this hits you falling from 1,000 feet, this will kill you.
They need to license that stuff. Yeah. Apple has announced that their app sales in 2014 resulted in payouts to developers of $15 billion.
Nice.
They say it's created 1 million jobs in the United States, the app sales, and a $4.5 billion revenue for Apple itself.
Are they counting all the Uber drivers in that 1 million jobs?
I don't know where they get 1 million jobs.
That seems excessive to me.
Yeah. There are 1.4 million apps in the App Store for iPhones, iPads, and Touches. By the way, Google Play, the Android store, is bigger, 1.7 million apps, according to App Annie. Google has not said how much it makes, although...
A lot less.
Yeah, I think it is, although Google said it's paid out $5 billion to developers in 2014 for the past 12 months. So it is that would be a third.
It's reasonable.
Still good bit. Still, you know, I mean, coming out of college, probably should look at that as a career. Creating apps. Can't be 1 million people got jobs because of apps.
Well, they're talking about all the derivative jobs as well. So there's people who make the
App
programs
repair
that let
guys.
you create apps.
Okay.
There's the people who
Right.
will market it.
Right.
Well, it's amazing because this, by the way, Friday was the 8th anniversary of the release of the announcement of the iPhone.
Really?
In 2007, 8 years ago. In 8 years, that went from 0 to 60 in 8 years. I mean, there were no apps before that. There was software, but there was nothing like that.
Huh.
Pretty cool. Google says it's going in the insurance business.
That's where the money is.
That's how Sony makes the bulk of its money.
Yes, they finally got a clue.
They're going to sell car insurance. So John, you've always said that the real problem with the privacy issues are that insurers, for instance, will now know I ate donuts for breakfast and refuse me insurance.
That is definitely one of the issues.
So it only
That's
makes
why
sense.
you don't want to join those clubs, those Safeway Club and all these other ones. They'll give you the discount anyway. You don't need the club. All they do is track it for insurance
They will not
purposes.
give you the discount. They say that every time. You would have saved $45 if you had a Target card.
The trick is to have John's number and just use it for everything. Or
How do you get the
father's
discount
number.
without having that card?
Use somebody else's card.
Oh.
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh.
Well, actually, when you go to, like, for example, 99 Ranch, they always have a card there that they swipe for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you know what? CVS does that. She says, do you have a CVS card? And I said, no. She said, well, let me swipe this one. I think that's a renegade employee, though. That's a rogue.
Not in my experience. There seems to be a rogue at the aisle in every store I go into.
Well, that kind of eliminates the incentive, right?
No, only for people that have a clue.
No. But
I mean, most people love that card. Oh, I've got a card. I'm a member. I'm a member of the Safeway Buyers Club. I'm special.
I love any club that'll have me as a member. I want to join.
That's about right. No, I don't like these ideas. This is just more making book on you. I just find it's not like they're really out to get anybody that we know, but it's just annoying. It's just the structure of things.
They're
Shouldn't
not out
be
to
that
get anybody. They're out to get all of us eventually.
So Google
Well, eventually, maybe. But that's kind of paranoid.
is going to, and the insurance industry knows this probably, going to introduce Google Compare, which has been available in Britain for 2 years, in the United States any minute now. It is a website that you could go to and compare auto insurance and buy auto insurance, and of course Google gets a cut of the sale. They recently formed a partnership with an insurance comparison shopping site that does that exactly, called CompareNow.com. They say it's like Kayak for auto insurance. They also, this is kind of interesting, Forrester Research has figured out that there is a woman at Google who has an insurance license. Her name is Meredith Steckbart. Her LinkedIn profile lists her as an employee at Google, licensed to sell insurance on behalf of Google Compare as well as CoverHound. And Forrester said, as much as I'd like to imagine someone could become so enthralled with the insurance industry that they'd leave a job at Google to become an insurance agent, it seems more likely that this is the beginning. Google needs, the laws require that Google have a licensed insurance broker working for them to do this.
I mean, this all makes sense, right? I mean, Google's mission has always been to organize data, and some of that data is buying information.
Seems so down market for Google to be selling auto insurance.
It's a down market, but it's incredibly lucrative.
Obviously, I mean, look at the Progressive ads and the Geico ads, and you can't get away from auto insurance ads.
Now I want to know what the total U.S. car insurance market is for 2014.
Okay, get us that number, will
I'm
you?
working on that.
It's a big business.
I'm sure it is. Life insurance is a big business.
Is there a risk that Google can kind of, by doing a lot of, I mean, this is not exactly sticking to your knitting. I mean, that they're going to muddy the brand by doing stuff like this?
You mean like they muddied the brand when they moved into what, phones or operating systems or phone operating systems or inventory?
This is auto insurance.
Well,
Google's knitting is big data, and let's be clear. They like as many data points as they can get, and they want to sell that data in as many ways as they can. Insurance is another way to do it. I mean, think about all the data points they have on where you travel, how you travel, what you drive, what you prefer. That's all data that they have that an insurance company, a standard insurance company, won't have.
So it's very easy. You go to or will be easy. You go to the Google site. You enter your driver's license number, and they know everything. They go, oh, okay.
Yeah, they can find all your searches. They give that to the insurance company, and then they start jacking up your rates.
And then they say, hey, you know what? We can cut your rate in half if you buy a Google self-driving car.
Should be able to cut your rate to 0.
Just shows you how much money there is. But now, by the way, I just want to tell you, Patrick Norton is reading financial reports.
It's dedication.
At theinsurancejournal.com.
Wow.
Yeah, looking at like the industry of like $48 billion a quarter.
Oh, a quarter. That sounds better.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. $200 billion a year industry. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Actually, Google's got to do this because you know what? The search industry, the business, not going well for Google. They've lost the most search share since 2009.
Maybe if they improve their algorithms.
You think? Oh, no, come on. Google works great.
I think actually, you know what? I think John's in the neighborhood because like it's not so much the algorithm; it's actually the amount of junk and sales, especially in Google Maps, that they're starting to throw in there, starting to drive me absolutely nuts.
Google Maps is deteriorated.
It's killing me.
Really?
Well, if I'm searching for a restaurant or if I'm searching for a lumber yard and I'm getting like Bob the insurance agent's advertisement,
no, I don't want to see that. Yeah,
that's irritating the snot out of me.
No, you're right.
You know, and the. It's interesting.
What do you think John, what do you think Google's market share is in the U.S.?
For search?
Yeah.
I think it's about 85% now.
Yeah, I would have thought that too. It's 75.
Yeah. Well, and that's down. Where is it? Google.
Yahoo has jumped to 10.4%.
It's almost from 79.3 from a year before.
They were 80% last year.
I don't.
Was this
Google
before or after before Mozilla pulled the plug on them?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. This was after. So Mozilla now, by default, you could switch it back if you're using Firefox.
Yeah,
but
I've done that.
Firefox, by default, uses Yahoo search, which nobody's asked for or wants. But obviously, Yahoo.
No, but most users are stupid, and they'll never switch back.
The tyranny of the default.
I'd say at least half of the people who are using Yahoo think they're using Google because they think Google is how you search. Oh,
right.
I Googled that. What do you use for that?
Yeah,
Yahoo.
it's like Kleenex.
Yeah. But yeah, I stopped using Google search. By the way, use Bing. I will admit to that because it actually, for what I search for, it's
Bing's
more
better?
relevant.
Wow.
It cuts out so much of the junk.
Yeah.
Yahoo is Bing, by the way. Yahoo is Bing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really only two.
Yeah.
I think it also varies a lot depending on what category you're searching in and how much that particular. Like if you're, I remember at one point, I haven't done it in a while, trying to search for a particular chunk of information about transmissions. And on Bing, I got like 19 pages of fly-by-night transmission companies or places that were like sort of link farms related to transmissions. And in Google, I could actually get somebody with information about it. But it's curious to take a look at the different search engines.
I tell you, if you look at Bing and the search results for Bing, I can't tell if it's Bing or Google.
It looks the same.
It could be anything.
Right. And look, I'm not saying I use exclusively Bing. I'll look at Bing. That's my default. And if I can't find it there, I'll jump over to Google. But my first search is always with Bing now. I just tend to get better results. I don't get so much of the carbon copy stuff. Because no one's trying to game Bing. They're all trying to game Google.
I did search for auto transmission, and now I'm getting a lot of ads. A lot of ads. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
It's a little less useful. When it's search for me, that's good. All right. Interesting. Maybe this is why Google's getting into insurance.
Yeah.
There's no future in that search stuff. It's
Let's
history.
do insurance. I have an idea.
Yeah. There you go. That's the future. Google is lobbying for cheaper airwaves. Google has for a long time. Let's talk about the FCC because real quickly, next month, the FCC says they're going to make a decision on open internet rules. And Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the FCC, has kind of been, according to some, telegraphing that he thinks he's going to go Title II, which would be very controversial.
Just the beginning of the government takeover.
It would be a modified Title II, though. It's not pure Title II.
At first.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's no rule that says they have to forbear.
Right.
He was speaking. He was speaking at CES, I think. No, I'm sorry. Oh, worse. He's at the NCTA. Oh no, that's an old picture. This was in a one-to-one conversation with Gary Shapiro of the CEA. He implied, according to Ars Technica, that Title II will be the basis for new net neutrality rules. This is what a lot of internet advocates have suggested. Others have said we're very worried about this because this is a very sweeping thing. When you make broadband providers common carriers, the FCC has all sorts of power to even regulate rates. Wheeler told Shapiro on Wednesday the FCC considered both sides. First, you want to make sure, this is a quote, that innovators have access to open internet. On the other hand, you have to create an environment to provide sufficient incentives to ISPs who want to invest and build out.
But why would we listen to those ISPs? This is the same group. AT&T, remember, they had their temper tantrum when they did the latest Spectrum sale, and they said, well, we don't like the rules that you're using for the auction, so we're not going to play. They ended up playing anyways. It was a big bluff. They're doing the same thing here. The modified Title II plan that the FCC wants to put into place would basically say you can do anything for consumers. You can sell your services the way that you want, but as soon as you start making the interconnect agreements, that's going to be held under Title II regulation. That actually makes sense. It's not super heavy-handed. The telcos and the ISPs can still sell the services that they want to sell at the prices that they want to sell it. It's just saying that they can't be restrictive on how the information transfers between networks.
It's kind of interesting because Wheeler pointed out in this interview that it was 20 years ago that he was negotiating on behalf of the wireless industry for something called Section 332, which said that wireless should be regulated under Title II as a common carrier, but instruct the FCC to forbear from onerous provisions and inappropriate provisions. Just as you say, to enforce the proper part of Title II. But John, you're an anti-government guy. You say this is just the camel's.
I love the government.
This is the camel's nose under the tent. You like the government?
Can we get that as a soundbite? Can we put that on the board?
I love the government.
Is this the camel's nose?
Well, I'm concerned that anytime these guys butt in, they start to, it gives them something to do. I worked for a government agency. They're always looking to take over something so they can expand and get bigger. And that means if the bigger you get, the guy at the top gets more money. So you want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're going to just take over the internet and tell us what's what. And then you can say that, yeah, a little bit of Title II, a little bit of this is not going to be as bad as you think. But then all of a sudden, the public itself thinks that the FCC's got something to do with it when they may not. And they're going to start demanding, I would like better service. I would like me, for example. I get the worst Comcast numbers. I used to say Comcastic. I won't say that anymore. It's just a crappy service because I have to upgrade to business, obviously, which is the way they operate.
And by the way, now I have to cancel my home. And they didn't cancel the home when you upgraded the business. And then when I called them, they said,
screwed.
Oh, I totally got screwed because they called in and said, well, you have an early termination fee on home. You can't cancel unless you pay us a lot of money.
You know, I'm actually with John. I do believe that the government can screw this up. I would only suggest this use of Title II as a method of last resort. The problem is we are at the method of last resort. Right. People don't realize this is not a new thing. This goes back 30 plus years. Go back to the 1986 Telecommunications Act. Go back to the Broadband Act. Go back to the sale of NBC to Comcast, the proposed acquisition of Dish by AT&T. Each and every single time, the ISPs and the telcos have made promises that they will look out for the good of their customers, and they never have. And then they get fined a couple $1 million and it's business as usual. So we're now at this place where this is it. This is all we have left. They're not keeping their word. This is the only stick we have left in the quiver.
Google, all the big tech giants have kind of stayed away from this debate, not knowing exactly how they feel. But Google did file a brief last week saying, the one thing we like about Title II is it would give us access to the polls, so that would be good for Google Fiber. I almost feel like that was like there's some subtext to that. I'm not sure what it is. Well, if you did do Title II, then we could put Google Fiber everywhere. Now the NCTA, the National Cable National Cable and Telecommunications Association, says, "Oh no, Google can already get on the polls. Don't believe them."
It's totally not true. We know that because we have a friend at SonicNet. And he'll tell us it costs $5,000 a house, a house that he passes in San Francisco to get his fiber up. Because they will file every single procedural motion to make your costs go up.
So the example is Austin, where Google did try to get poles. AT&T owns about 20% of the utility poles, and argued that Google did not qualify as a telecom or cable provider and thus could not attach to the poles. They did get an agreement because fiber is coming. Google Fiber is coming to Austin. Anyway, this is one of those he said, she said things. Google, yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's interesting, or sad or typical that it takes somebody as motivated and as giant and as money. Google's got a lot of money socked away, because one of the things in that article you were showing is like, I think it was later in 2014, AT&T made a deal with Google.
Right.
Because I think at some point somebody from Google in a really sharp suit and a pair of shoes worth more than my car probably walked up to Google's office and said, "You want to play lawyer games?"
Yeah. These are all big companies now.
Yeah.
These are equal. They're equals. They're fighting each other as equals.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Come back with a final thought or two. John C. Dvorak is here from the wonderful NoAgendaShow.com. He is at The Real Dvorak on the Twitter. He loves you all. Are those planes actually on your wall, or is that part of the special effects?
Oh.
Wow. They just disappeared. I thought the U.S. Air Force was bombing Barney.
They droning them.
What did you get? Oh, I know what this is. This is like this is software, right? This is like
Is this the Logitech software?
Yeah.
Yeah. You busted him.
I know.
You busted him. NoAgendaShow.com. Father Robert Ballecer, he is the host of, they call him the Digital Jesuit. I don't know why. He's the host of This Week in Enterprise Tech. He's a drone maker.
They call me the Quadfather.
The Quadfather. I love it. You can watch him make quads on Know-How. Actually, more and more I'm referring back to Know-How. People say, oh, yeah, they covered that on Know-How. And I just say, oh, I'll go to Know-How.
We need a better list of everything we've covered so that people can link directly to it.
John has turned into some sort of
that's a beautiful. That's a very
spaniel.
Cute. I have never seen JCD that cute.
Can you talk?
I can, yeah. It's supposed to move my mouth's supposed to move up and down, but it doesn't. This one looks a little better. I think this works.
This is like the cat. This is like the cat from outer space in like 1977. I mean,
there we go. There's the mouth.
There's John as a yellow lab, or now he's a mouse.
Paddington Bear.
No, this is a patting the bear kind of a teddy bear thing. It could also be my favorite one is Lincoln.
You could, but your lips don't move. I want to get your lips.
There's best I can do.
The man who made Lincoln yawn. I like that one the best.
I like it too, and you always have a bunch of different.
Why is he
effects
snoring?
I'm surprised, to be honest about it, that you haven't had other guests on with this video that go on Skype, which is most of your guests.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anyone do any of this.
I think people have a longer attention span for the most part than you do. In general.
Well, there's that. But besides that, I mean, really.
You're right. No one has done this. And this has been available in the Logitech software for years.
Yes, decades.
And we are amused.
We are amused.
We are amused. Patrick Norton is also here. His new show launched this week. Tech Thing at techthing.com, or better yet, support the holy cow.
There we go.
You have a Patreon page, and you already have 265 patrons at $575 an episode. We want to get that up to $575,000 an episode. Shannon Moore's Patrick Norton.
We wrapped the show? Is this
No, I got an ad to do, and we got more news. I just like to give plugs in the middle because, I listen to, what's his name? And they always have the plugs at the end, like 8 hours into the show. Morning guy.
Who's this?
The morning guy. Baba Booey. What's his name?
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern.
I blocked that out.
Yes, I noticed.
Howard Stern does the plugs at the end of the show, but by then it's 10:30. Everybody's at work. So I thought I'd give you some plugs earlier on while people are still in the car.
Thank you very much.
Well, then I should have said NoAgendaShow.com.
I said that too. Don't worry. You got your plug. Wow, look at that. 5th column. Your show title is...
Oh, okay. I thought that was something.
Is that the War of the
different.
Worlds? It looks like the War of the Worlds.
Hey,
It's a celebration, man. Celebration.
Yeah, but why is the confetti coming out of her upside down jellyfish?
I have no idea.
This episode of Twit brought to you by our good friends at FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the place to go if you're an entrepreneur, a small business person, yay hi, and you want to get out of making those gosh darn invoices in Excel. Do you use Excel or Word or Google Docs to make your invoices? I did for the longest time. Amber MacArthur told me about FreshBooks when I was commuting up to Canada to do a call for help up there. I had to invoice the Rogers, the people who produced the show, and I just would put it off. And 6 months later, I'd finally get out 6 invoices at once, and they'd yell at me, invoice us monthly like a normal person. Plus, it was in Canadian dollars, and I don't know what the symbol is for Canadian dollars. So then she told me, she said, go to FreshBooks. I'm not kidding. She said, this is so Web 2.0. This is back in the Web 2.0 days. But you know what it is? It's easy. It's modern. It lets you make beautiful invoices. Mm-hmm. They have great award-winning mobile apps, so you can do it all on Android or iOS. FreshBooks is built for a growing business. On average, FreshBooks customers double their revenue in the first 2 years of FreshBooks use. And, more importantly, you get paid an average of 5 days faster. I got paid on an average of 5 months faster because I would finally invoice people. FreshBooks easily scales with your business, adding clients, projects, and staff. It's easy, so you start small, but you get big. You'll spend less time on paperwork. You'll have more fun. And by the way, the app will keep track of hours and automatically put that in the timesheet, which is great. The app also will let you put your receipts in there. You take pictures of your receipts from your phone and enter the details in FreshBooks. So it's easy to, it simplifies the whole process. And they're the nicest people. FreshBooks.com. Emma Cossie, who is a consultant and editor of the Freelance Lifestyle newsletter, she says, I love using FreshBooks for expenses. I took a snap of my train ticket, entered the details, job done. Try FreshBooks right now, free, with no obligation when you go to freshbooks.com/twit. I do ask that when they ask you, how did you hear about us? There's a little form. Just please put Twit or This Week in Tech. That would be nice. And we thank FreshBooks so much for supporting us and for supporting me for so long. It is a great service.
Leo, would you like to check out what's new on Twitch?
We had such a good week this week, John. I thought I'd run a house ad if you don't mind right now. This is what you...
He's marinating his meat again.
Yeah, this is what you missed. If you missed anything this week on Twit.
Previously on Twit.
Now that I've been puppeted, I have no idea how to react to that.
This is not a great look. I hope you're all happy.
Gizwiz.
It's time for the 1500th episode of the Gizwiz.
Is it doing something? Just on fire.
Twit Live specials.
I'm here getting locked and loaded with all my tech. All the gadgets, all the gizmos, the wearables, the self-driving cars, the home automation, the Internet of Things, the 3D printing, and all. That's right, my 3D model is smirking, folks. It must be CES 2015.
Before you buy.
They swear that this T-shirt will resist anything. Well, there's only one way to review it.
Look, it's sluicing right off. The water's a little cold.
Twit. Hashtag pants check.
Okay, so the head hydrophobic.
No more on the head.
The head's clean.
My head is hydrophobic. And what's coming up?
Mustard didn't come off.
No, in fact, I gave it a do not buy because the ketchup and the sriracha came off. Not as easily as on the video of the site. It has this video where it just kind of flows off. But the mustard, not only did the mustard not come off, but I got a big mustard stain on the shirt, the T-shirt underneath
Mustard is nasty for staining.
Apparently worse than ketchup and sriracha.
You really do like Pitbull when you're wearing a T-shirt.
You get mustard on you, you're doomed.
I think, so really the issue was I shouldn't have used the mustard. There you go.
Yeah, you could have.
Can you say the bigger they are, the harder they fall?
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Just like that guy.
Wow. Like
you need a little. You need the soul patch in that.
I need to go.
Whoa. That's actually uncanny. You do need the soul patch.
You need the soul patch and the douchebag goatee.
Never smile.
Oh, and a tie.
And a tie. Because he's such a well-dressed guy.
He is a well-dressed guy.
Mike Elgin, what's coming up this week on Twit?
It's not planned.
He's frozen.
Coming up this week, the big day is Thursday, January 15th. Intel and Netflix both report earnings on Thursday. Also on that day, Xiaomi is expected to launch a flagship phone called the Halo. Hints from the company suggest that it could be the thinnest smartphone ever made. And Amazon Thursday also debuts 13 new original shows on its Prime Instant Video service, 6 of them for children. That's what's coming up this week. Back to you, Leo.
Amazon is just knocking it out of the park.
You know what? I actually watch Amazon Prime more than I watch Netflix.
I watch those original shows all the time. John C. Dvorak looks just like Pitbull.
It's uncanny.
More like a pit barbecue than a pit bull, but okay. If you want to catch up on the latest tech news, keep up on what's going on. That is the show to watch Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. Tech News today. TNT, Tech News Today with Mike Elgin. And, man, he gets everybody on that show. That show is the show to watch if you want to just know what's going on in 45 minutes.
Is it on? How often is it on?
Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Huh. And then we have a night show, and now hosted by, I'm very happy to say, Megan Maroney.
I haven't heard from her for a long time.
I know. It's great from the Screensavers. She's taken over Tech News tonight because you know why? Sarah Lane got a job doing video for TechCrunch.
Oh, more money.
I don't know if it's money exactly because she was making pretty good money here, but I think it's – I shouldn't speak for her.
What were you paying her?
I'm not going to tell you.
I think maybe not commuting, John.
I think the commute, though, was horrible for her.
Yes, it is.
Oh, who needs it?
As somebody who did that for 13 years, I can vouch for it.
I'm still doing it right now.
We tried to get Patrick. He said the same thing. I'm not commuting. I think we're not getting the best people because we are in Petaluma.
Well, the trick is to get people to move to Petaluma.
Was that just an excuse, or would...
I own my house, and I want to see my children.
It was just an excuse, wasn't it?
No.
You were just trying to break it to me easy.
No. The scary thing is your commute over the Golden Gate Bridge, both of you, is actually easier than what I would have to deal with crawling by Berkeley on TV.
Oh, yeah. That's why John's on Skype today. That and the puppy.
Well, if John was here in real life, we wouldn't have these spectacular effects.
So
you wouldn't have, exactly.
I know. We miss it. We miss out on the good stuff. So the FBI has leaked another clue that... the hell is that?
I don't know.
It's a bird pooping on the screen.
John found another button.
It's the most random assortment of digital effects ever.
If you are not watching video, you're missing absolutely nothing. FBI Director James Comey says, here's another reason we know that North Korea did it. The hackers got lazy, and every once in a while, they would log onto their Facebook account and Sony's servers from a North Korean internet address. So there.
Right.
That proves it.
That proves more that James Comey doesn't know what the hell he's talking about than anything else.
And
but all right.
The funny thing about that, if you listen to all these government guys yak about this, that Comey has been given as the go-to guy, as the #1 cyber expert.
So I don't know. I haven't. I noticed that people who are expert in this kind of thing, like the CTO of Cloudflare and Bruce Schneier and Brian Krebs, are mum at this point. So probably somebody from the government has called them and said, seriously, we know. But no one, the stuff they put out publicly has yet to be.
It's very weak. I mean, it's not like I can change my IP in 2 seconds here. I've actually got a utility on my computer.
You, if you wanted to, could come from Korea.
I could come from Korea.
Actually, that's maybe not strictly true because there's only 1,024 internet addresses in Korea, and they are pretty tightly controlled.
I mean, all I have to do is poison the BGP routes.
Oh, that's true.
Suddenly I'm popping out from a North Korean router.
He did it.
I just really wanted to see the interview. I mean, is that so wrong? Actually,
Facebook growth slows, according to the Pew report, but user engagement increases. Twitter growth increases, but nobody cares. That's from the Pew Research Internet Project.
The stockholders care. That stock is flying.
That's all they care about. They look at the growth numbers and not, unfortunately, the quality of the content. Instagram growing even more, though. Look at that. And Pinterest.
Look at Facebook.
Look at Facebook, though. So 71% of online adults use Facebook, whereas 28% use LinkedIn, Pinterest, 26% Instagram, 23% Twitter.
I only log into Facebook maybe once a month.
I check just to see. I want to see what my family's doing and what Robert Scoble's doing.
That's what I've done. I've basically removed everyone who's not a family member.
Yeah.
Facebook's now just for my family.
Right. And even to do that, you have to kind of go chronological. You can't let Facebook determine what you see. Yeah, you have to kind of say, no, I want to see everything, which means going chronological. I bet Scobles. Oh, there's me. What are you laughing at?
That is actually, that's Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
That is
the
so
horror.
Apocalypse
The
Now.
horror.
Yeah, what's that guy's name?
Yeah, Colonel Kurtz.
Kurtz.
Colonel
You look
Kurtz.
like Kurtz.
Who took that? That's a really good picture.
I took that. That's a selfie.
Apocalypse Now.
A horror. So there's what you're missing if you're not going to Facebook.
Can we get an ox in the studio?
Great photo. I want that photo.
I should have painted my face
Signed.
green though, and then I would be like a Colonel Kurtz. So there's Paul Thurrott with hair. He's got to update his photo.
Did he shave his head too?
Yeah, Mike Elgin's making frittata.
Solidarity.
Yes, he did because
What about Elgin? We want Elgin to shave his hair.
Yeah. See, I don't.
That's
Mike-
actually a wig.
Mike Elgin has great hair. He should not shave his hair.
Oh yes.
You had great hair.
I did have.
This also settles the entire sort of hairpiece argument that's been going on.
Could be,
for
or
20
maybe I just
years.
pulled off my hairpiece. Right?
No, I'm pretty sure they videotaped the whole process.
They did. We showed it all, and I have pictures to prove it. I have pictures to prove it. All right. I think there's a lot of other stuff. I don't even want to talk about it. We're done.
Done?
Just turn off the lights. Let's just.
You want to talk
go
about
home.
AT&T rolling over data?
Yeah, because T-Mobile did it.
Right.
Although, what's the big deal? People have been rolling over minutes. So T-Mobile said, nobody calls anymore. Let's roll over data.
Well, it was funny because it was like 6-8 weeks ago that AT&T was like, we'll give you this special one-time offer that you can go up to 30 gigabytes of data per month for another like $30 a month now.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of strange. And apparently nobody took that bait because then a few weeks later they're talking about rolling over my data in perpetuity, which would be nice.
Really? Because, I never use the total amount of data.
Well,
isn't the issue really for them congestion, not how much data you're using?
I don't think they're nearly as congested as they want people to think they
They're
are.
claiming congestion.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing
I think the amount of data isn't the issue
Yeah.
so much,
And
right?
the-
So what if you use 5 gigabytes? If you used it all at 3 in the morning, who would care?
Yeah.
It's that you're all using it, everybody's using it at the same time. It's congested.
And you know what? Netflix wasn't providing enough connections to the backbone. I mean, it's
Right.
this is all.
You can't trust
giant-
anybody, can you?
No.
No.
Most people use the Netflix appliance anyway. Doesn't really make any difference whether they provide a lot of backbone connections.
You know who doesn't? Comcast and Verizon. They don't want to use it.
Comcast's the only one.
Yeah. Yelp. Here's a good one. Yelp, as you may remember, won in court in September. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the 9th District said that when Yelp tells a restaurant or a butcher or a barber, it would be nice if you advertised, then we wouldn't have so many negative reviews, methinks. That was just hard bargaining.
Yeah.
That's hard bargaining. That's literally what the court said. Judge Marcia Berzon, writing for the majority, said the business owners may deem
From
the
Jersey? Where is it? What is this?
No, it's the
judge
9th
from?
Circuit. It's here.
Oh,
My God.
The business owner may deem the posting or order of user reviews as a threat of economic harm, but it is not unlawful for Yelp to post and sequence the reviews, as Yelp has the right to charge for legitimate advertising services. The threat of economic harm that Yelp leveraged is at most hard bargaining. Yeah, like when Tony Soprano comes over with a baseball, he's just hard bargaining. I just want to hit your knees. Don't mind me. In any event, I love the response of Botto Bistro, just up the road a piece. They're in Richmond, California. They are offering 50% off a pizza if you give them a 1-star review on Yelp. They were so pissed off about this, they said, all right, we're going to completely pollute the reviews.
Good for them.
According to Botto Bistro, Yelp has removed over 2,000 1-star reviews. I say, you can't do that. Those are fake. It actually looks like a good place. So if you're in Richmond, it looks like the marina. You might want to check out the authentic Tuscan cooking and the worst reviews on Yelp.
Check that place
Well,
out.
most people still trust Yelp, right?
I do all the time.
I always assume it's just been
But
gamed.
you know what I do is it's exactly. I take off the top and the bottom.
I same way.
Yeah, my issue was, especially in the first couple of years, you would run into people like,
I went to Bikram Yoga. I'm giving it 1 star because it was hot and there was a wool carpet and
somebody
it wasn't.
farted.
well, but it's so funny where people would complain about the core reasons for going to a place were a problem.
Right.
Right.
It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
But you're smart
No,
enough.
I
You read
remember
that and you
there
take
was
that
a-
one out,
there were-
right?
There
But
was
in
a
a lot of
woman that reviewed the French Laundry, and she gave it a 1-star review because it wasn't a vegan place. I'm serious.
And the food is so terrible here, and the portions are so small.
They didn't have ketchup.
No ketchup. On a more serious note, of course, we've all been paying attention to the horror that is going on in Paris, and so has the tech industry. Mark Zuckerberg writing, I thought, a very beautiful, heartfelt post on Facebook. Apple changing its French page to say, Je suis Charlie, which, of course, is the phrase that people are using. Google has given a ton of money to Charlie Hebdo to publish 1 million copies of the next week's episode. This Google-backed fund, I can't remember how much they gave him. It was a significant amount of money, 250,000 euros, so that Charlie Hebdo could do 1 million copies next week. Interesting conversation, and we'll talk about it on Twig with Jeff Jarvis leading the charge on why U.S. mainstream media would not publish those offensive cartoons, the cartoons that got 12 cartoonists and reporters killed at Charlie Hebdo, and while most internet outlets did. Mainstream media, CNN and others blocked it, but others on the internet, almost all of them did. And I'm not sure what's the takeaway from that, but I'm sure we'll talk about it on Wednesday on This Week in Google with Jeff Jarvis. Thank you, guys. Everybody, patreon.com/techthing.
Thanks, man.
Because you should pay for the stuff you get. Now, you're not going to have advertising, right, as a result, or do you?
Once we get to a certain point, like if we get to $1,000 per episode, we can afford to do an RSS feed and dedicated, high-res video.
This stuff's expensive. People think, you just get in front of a camera, you make a show. No. It costs a lot of money.
Well, and I have this thing about feeding my children.
It's cost us, if we just sat here with the cameras on, it costs us $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Just sitting here. So it's not inexpensive to do that kind of stuff. So if you like it and you want it, patreon.com/techthing with we could say this. It's Techzilla episode 2.0.
You know you're going to love it.
Techzilla /DLTV /
all the other
Techzilla
things.
/ tech thing. It keeps evolving.
Yeah. TEK.
Yes.
THING. Tech with a K thing.
Thanks, man.
Twiat. Know-how?
Padres Corner.
Padres Corner. I almost forgot Paco. Padres Corner.
Coding 101.
And Coding 101. Padres Corner is kind of an unusual one because we don't make a feed of it, or do we?
We do. We do.
We do.
We actually do.
You can get that show.
We've got ads on it, which is weird.
What?
I know, right?
We have advertising on
Padres Corner?
So it's the only non-tech show we do where you just talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it ends up being talking about tech.
Because you love tech.
Yeah, because I love tech. But it's basically just things that we find interesting. We bring guests, like we've had a couple of actors. We've had Becky Worley. We've had David Hewitt.
People raved over the episode you did on nuclear power.
Right.
The debate. I guess it was a debate.
We got a debate, and we had the director, producer of Pandora's Promise, which is an indie film that got put on Netflix. Fantastic, very even look at nuclear power. And that's the kind of stuff I want to do. It's just things that geeks enjoy.
Padres Corner. It's what day? When do you do it?
Tuesdays, 7:30 p.m.
Pacific, 10:30 Eastern. And, of course, all of Padres' coverage of CES, along with Dick DiBartolo's coverage and Scott Wilkins' coverage, is on our website, twit.tv/specials for Padres coverage and Dick's coverage. The Home Theater Geek show is at twit.tv/HTG. And that would be the one to watch to see what all the TV news was. Lots of stuff.
We did that so they don't have to go.
It saves you a lot of time, trouble, and flu viruses. Yeah. John C. Dvorak and I will go next year.
Yes.
Can I get that in writing?
No. He's in love with CES. NoAgendaShow.com. John C. Dvorak.
A pleasure to be here, Leo.
How did you do 686 episodes? That's a lot of episodes.
We do two. You know how?
How?
We went to 2 a week.
Now twice weekly. Thank you very much for being here, Johnny. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry I couldn't drive in, but you know what happened last time? It was 2.5 hours. I got stuck in the Napa Valley.
Yeah.
It was just not a good thing.
It's fine. You know what?
I guess Patrick made it, so I could have done it, I suppose.
I think what we did look at it wasn't too horrible. Did you go over the East?
Yeah, I just went over the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge. I'm checking Google traffic right now to see if it's going to take me 4 or 6 days to get home.
I think most people just stayed off the road.
I think people knew it was Carmageddon and they didn't drive.
Or maybe was there something going on at the racetrack when you came up here last time, John?
Maybe that was it.
No, No, there wasn't. I don't know why it was so bad, but you you definitely want to check because you might have to come back through Sears Point and then you can come down to 80. That was my alternative route back if I was going to go up.
You
today.
know, if the traffic's that bad,
Waze, baby.
No, if the traffic's that bad, I just bunker down at
you can stay here
at the diner.
Oh, well, actually, that's okay too. Stay here. Stay with us. You're always welcome. We got an extra room. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2300 UTC. We love it if you can watch live. The chat room is hopping during Twit. That's what's part of the fun of it. You can also come to the studio. We have an open studio. Basically, we do a meetup every week here during Twit. Just email tickets@twit.tv to let us know, and we'd be glad to see you here. We love having a live audience.
And we have an open bar.
Well, since when?
Free drones.
No, John took all the tequila. We also put this show out on demand, of course, audio and video at twit.tv and wherever you get your finer netcasts. You can also use our apps, some really good apps, and I don't take credit for them, all written by third-party developers on every platform, iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and yes, even Roku. A lot of people, surprisingly large number of people watch on Roku.
A lot of Rokus out there.
Twit Roku channel. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Woo!